Blog Talk Radio.
2017. Big Truth. Debate Talk for you. What up? Shout out Ahwar King. Big Boo. Me. Shout out everybody. Check it. Hey yo, Debate Talk 4. You so you can absorb. Information free of charge so you can afford. Get poppin'. Live off the greatest doctrine. Sip the juice, know the ledge like the great Rakim. On a mission, not a small time thing. Defense biblical, offense got the haters watching. Hands are skill, footwork is ill. Getting it in, see if you can stand for real. If you rep Kim and Cool, yo, I rep Israel. If you Torah based only or new as well, welcome to listen. Style always fair decision. Two sides come together to compare what's written. Seeking the facts, seeking the maps, teaching the acts, leaking the tracks. Call while you eating your snacks. Music in my bones, DNA, C-double-E and K. Little something for the showtime, you can play. One love, one love, one love.
Study to show thyself approved. You're now listening to Debate Talk V Radio.
Peace and assalamu alaikum. This is Rahim Ali, your expert investigative reporter, checking out the Lion's Den Debate Talk for you with your great host, Sal Showtime.
You don't want to miss checking out the most controversial video of the year. Everybody's talking about it. A video produced by Absolute Bible Truth teacher, Brother Josh. The video is entitled, Is There a Secret Gay Agenda Amongst the Comedic Conscious Groups? Once again, it's one of the most talked about videos right now, and you want to make sure you go check it out. So go to the website, www.absolutebibletruth.com/store. And once you get it, it's an automatic download. You don't have to wait for it to be sent to you in the mail. It's an automatic download. So once again, go check out the video, get it fast, and get it now.
Peace and blessings to everyone that's listening. This is Moreh Yakel, the mighty Hebrew, Lion of Judah with Campaign for Biblical Literacy Ministries, walking in the way of my forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, observing the Torah, slaying devils, and manifesting the blessing of the Most High. Come by, pay us a visit by going to my website at www.campaignforbiblicalliteracy.com and by going to my YouTube channel at Campaign for Biblical Literacy Ministries. Shalom.
Hi, this is Tyrone Thompson, host of the Blog Talk Radio broadcast Talk Real Solutions. Please tune in and listen to all of our shows 7 nights a week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At Talk Real Solutions, we cover a variety of topics to ensure we speak about what may be needed in our community at any time. Talk Real Solutions is the hottest blog talk radio show going on right now. You can listen to our broadcast at www.blogtalkradio.com/talkrealsolutions or visit our website at www.talkrealsolutions.com. Also like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/talkrealsolutions. You can call in at any time during the show and add to the conversation and offer your solutions at 1-858-357-8453. That's 1-858-357-8453. 888-357-8453 because at Talk Real Solutions, we want to make sure you have a chance to talk real solutions.
Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Robert, a.k.a. Pastor Nobody, from the Fountain of Israel Bible Studies class. You can find us on thefountainofisrael.com or use the search box on YouTube and type in Fountain of Israel. You can also email us at foibiblestudies@inbox.com. Again, that is foibiblestudies@inbox.com. We believe the whole Bible is the truth and relevant to our lives today. Join us weekly as we feed the flock with the uncut word of God. Matthew 4:4 says, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God." So until next time, this is Pastor Nobody. Search the scriptures and prove all things. Shalom, Israel.
Welcome to the planet of debates, Debate Talking Radio.
This is Renald Francoeur representing from Atlanta, Georgia. And when I'm not busy in the studio, I'm checking out Debate Talk for You Radio. Keep up the great work, Sal Showtime.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another show. You're now listening to Season 7 of Debate Talk for You. I'm your host, Sal Showtime, and we are back with another classic show for you guys. Well, once again, it is Monday. You know what that means. It's time for the Relationship Challenge segment of Debate Talk for You, hosted by Emunah Israel, where we talk about all things relationships, issues, and, a lot of things that happen within relationships. And definitely today's show is entitled Escaping Polygyny. Is it culture, custom, or chaos? Once again, today's show is entitled Escaping Polygyny. Is it culture, custom, or chaos? For those that are familiar with Debate Talk for You, the listening audience, you guys can call in live with your questions or your comments. You know that number by now is 319-527-6239. If you don't have that number, save it to your cell phone. Put it on speed dial because we always have the audience call in to participate and ask their questions and their comments. All that I ask that when you do call in, you got to keep it clean, keep it professional. There's no foul language. Believe it or not, we have children listening to the show and even the elderly. So, once again, feel free to call in. Again, the number is 319-527-6239. Shout out to the people that's calling in via Skype. Most likely that's the international listeners out there that are tuning in all across the globe. We have people from the UK checking out the show, from Australia, Ghana, a lot of people all over the globe checking out Debate Talk for You. Thanks to Blog Talk Radio, we have access to the world via internet radio, so we appreciate the people tuning in all across the globe, taking down their notes, and getting ready to call in live to check out the show. Of course, the chat room is officially open, people. You can go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk for You. Click on the show, and when you scroll down at the bottom, you see a little box there where you can interact with me or anybody that's inside the chat room. So if you don't want to call in, you can type in your questions in the chat room or send me an email at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. That's debatetalk, number 4, letter U, @gmail.com, and I'll gladly read your questions to everybody that's on the panel. Of course, let's bring in the host of the Relationship Challenge, the creator of this particular segment, Emunah. Welcome to the show, First Lady.
Thank you for having me, Brother Sal. Praise be to the Most High, the Holy One of Creation, giving thanks for this opportunity. Once again, another Monday, time is flying, to come before the listening audience as well as the panelists to have these very, very important discussions as it relates to relationships. So once again, Brother Sal, thank you for having me.
Well, once again, we appreciate you, of course. And I see you when I see you through your challenge. I see you slimming down.
You see that, right?
And everything, all right?
Yeah. We're coming down. We're coming down, definitely. Yeah, it definitely is working. Like I said, over the years, for those who don't know, Right about now, we're running the C3 challenge. It's going to go on for some time as it relates to getting our colons right, and as well as other major organs within our body. If you don't know, death begins in the colon. A lot of diseases manifest from us having clogged lower portions, let's just say that. And so the C3 challenge, like Brother Sal is saying, I'm personally doing it as well, and it is working because, I've researched it over the years. It's not just some fly-by-night stuff like I'm pulling it out my hat. It's stuff that I've done over the years as well as research. So if you don't know what I'm talking about or you would like to know more, you're experiencing, all kind of symptoms, outbreaks, acne, constipation, you name it, you could definitely check out www.c3challenge.club. That's CLUB, not .com, C3challenge.club for more information.
All right, what I'm going to do, of course, later on, I'm going to leave that link in the description box for those who want to just get quick access to the website. Of course, I'm going to leave it on the YouTube page and, of course, on the iTunes podcast, the description box. All right, so let's bring in the home panel as usual, like we always do. And I appreciate everybody that's on the home panel that come on each and every other week right here on the Total Relationship Challenge. Let's go to the first special guest. Let's go to Ahwar Da Swordsman. Welcome to the show, home panel.
Hey, what's going on, Big Josh? Hello, my sister.
What's up, Brother Ahwar?
I'm good.
Everything's good.
All right. Okay.
Anything you want to say before we begin, Ahwar?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm going to do the show tomorrow night, but we're doing another thing. We're doing a little, what do you call it?
We're doing that round table tomorrow. Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a powerful round table discussion. Make sure you tune in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to peep it out. But next time, just look out for that Night of Fire. It's coming. Oh, I'm doing a show on Blog Talk with, what's his name, Black Jesus. He has a show now, and I'm doing a show on his show Wednesday called Wars and Rumors of Wars. I'm going to go into these prophecies, a little something. So if nobody's doing them, come check it out. It's going to be fire. And that's it.
All right. As usual, we appreciate you, Ahwar Da Swordsman. Of course, we got to go to my sister, Mayanah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sal. Shalom, everybody.
Hey, shalom, sis. What's going on?
Everything is good. Looking forward to speaking to the brother today about this particular topic.
All right, that's Mayanah right here on Debate Talk for you. Let's go to the special guests. We usually try to get special guests on the panel. My first special guest, actually, I contacted them today, and I was like, listen, man, I know it's short notice. Can you come on the show today? And he agreed. I definitely appreciate my brother for coming on. This is Gene. Welcome to the show, Gene.
Thank you for having me.
All right, anything you want to say before we begin?
No, I'm looking forward to this topic. Very interesting topic.
All right, and the other special guest, did you let him know about person number one? Because I don't see him. Let the audience know the other person that's supposed to be calling, what his name is and everything. That.
The other person is going to be calling in if possible. I tried calling him a couple times. He might have gotten caught up with some family things. Is Dr. William F. Locke.
All right, so if you're out there, you got to press number one, and then we'll add you in the conversation. Also, Brother Mercy, if you're out there, Brother Mercy, we'll add you in the conversation. I'll be on the lookout for those phone calls. In the meanwhile, let us begin. Emunah, take it away.
All right. Once again, thank everybody for tuning in. My name is Emunah. I am your humbled host this evening, as well as home panel, as well as the guests. So welcome everybody to the conversation. This is like, episode 27 of the Relationship Challenge. You're like, wow, y'all got a lot of problems. But, as they arise, as we see them come up through the trenches, we try to address them one by one so that we don't muddy the waters with these different issues that may arise. This one in particular, we had we had on standby for some time. We have done, I think the last show of last season was actually on polygyny. And so we've done it before, but we have to do it in different ways, in different spotlights to highlight different aspects of the institution. This one in particular is as it relates to escaping polygyny. And as the name would indicate, there's actually a show that's on television speaking about the Mormons and their escapes, a lot of the women's escape from the institution, as well as some young boys who they call the lost boys in that particular space. But in this space, we're going to speak about, hopefully, not the side, the glitz and glamour, not the, the bedazzled side that everybody likes to speak about, the side that the dangly carrot. We're gonna flip it around, and take a look at the underbelly of it. And hopefully, I was hoping to have some women as well as men call in and really be honest and transparent about their experiences within polygyny. A lot of times people say, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, or it's not for me, or, all of these things. So question is it culture? Is it chaos? And I forgot the last one right now. My mind just escaped me. It's not really before me right now. But we're definitely going to open up.
Custom
or chaos? Thank you for that, Brother Sal. Thanks for the save. Culture, custom, or chaos. And we're going to kind of examine that. Where is it coming from, especially in the Hebraic narrative? A lot of times we like to hear stuff like David did it, Jacob did it. We hear things of this nature, and this kind of gives us, especially the men, a green light. But now we're going to look at, again, some people, many people, who have escaped and lived to tell the tale. And so we're going to start from there. We're going to start open up with Sister Mayanah. Because we have a number of panelists expected to be on the panel this evening, I'm just going to say please let us be mindful of the time as well as the desire to get to the listening audience. And so please be mindful of the time as well as mindful of one another so that we can keep an orderly discussion going. I know this is like a hot topic. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you press the button, emotions is flying everywhere and people getting turned up. But please try to keep it to a space where we can continue to have a productive and fruitful dialogue. So with that said, I'm going to go. I don't know if Sal actually has a timer over there. If not, I'm just going to be looking
I have a timer.
You have a timer, right, Brother Sal? Yeah, we're going to have to do the...
Just let me know. Yeah, let me know how much time you want me to set it on, and we can do it.
We're gonna open up at 5 minutes. Open up at 5 minutes. If you don't have anything to say, you don't have to try to stuff the 5 minutes. You can just go ahead and pass it on to the other person, so we can definitely hear everyone's voice on the panel, as well as we're gonna hopefully try to come to the listening audience earlier on in the night, so that we don't kind of save them all the way to the bottom portion. So with that said, Brother Sal, we're gonna do the whole timer thing, and we're gonna open it up. Sister Mayanah, the mic is yours.
Oh, thank you for that. Just to keep it brief in the opening, discussing polygyny as a marriage strategy for Hebrews, particularly our Israelite Hebrew communities, forwarding this as a marriage strategy for any number of pathologies is not necessarily a bad thing until it starts to be framed as the imperative or the idea of the Creator, and they start to kind of rub the Bible on this thought, or those spaces where it's forwarded as a particularly or unique perquisite of the Israelite male, which we know it is not. So what I'm interested in seeing is how this conversation develops and whether or not these kinds of mythologies get reproduced in this conversation. Those mythologies being that this is a marriage strategy that was the perquisite of the Israelite male, or that it is the idea or the ideal that the Creator had in mind when he put together this particular institution. So with that, I'll yield the floor so that the conversation can go forward.
All right, thank you for that. That was the voice of Sister Mayanah. We're going to be examining, as she said, many things. At the back end, like they say, you're in business. You look at the front end of the business, you look at the back end of the business. So right about now, we're looking at the back end of this in light of what has been taught, over the generations, what has been perpetuated even in this space and time, and how it fleshes out, I guess. So with that, Brother Ahwar, the mic is yours for your opening statement.
Okay, I'm gonna make this conversation a little scary, okay? And I'm gonna base it off of Isaiah 4:1. It says, "In that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach." And my understanding, that that prophecy right there is developed, that women are willfully going to take that mindset due to fear. Okay, and I'm going to show you what fear I'm talking about. This is what that's talking about, right? This is a second edition in King James Apocrypha. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish with famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So I'm going to jump down. It says, verse 33. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegroom. The woman shall mourn, having no husband. And their daughters shall mourn, having no helper. In the water shall there be bridegrooms be destroyed. So what that is saying is, there can be a time where anarchy is all over the earth, where a lot of men are killed, right? So if a lot of men are killed in these different various wars, then that will make a man shortage. So to me, according to my understanding, there's a possibility, according to prophecy, that there's going to be a time when so many men are going to be destroyed and killed that women are going to willfully take 7 women shall run to 1 man, because it's going to be such a man shortage. And that's a paradigm I would like to discuss as well when it comes to this situation. Not just being in captivity, not just when the society is off and everybody's wicked, but from that paradigm as well. That's all I want to put out there, and I'm going to pass the mic.
Thank you for that. That was the opening statements from Brother Award. True to form, Brother Award. True to form. You bust out Isaiah 4:1 at the top of the hour. That's true to form, Brother Award. You know, I'm going to go ahead and go to the – we're going to definitely touch on that. Don't worry. We're not going to let that one get away, you know what I'm saying? But you know, for manners' sake, we want to welcome this is my first time interacting with, I believe his name is Brother Gene. So for your opening statements, Brother Gene, as it relates to escaping polygyny, culture, custom, or chaos, your thoughts. The mic is yours.
Well, I'm actually practicing and polygynist. I've been living it for some time now. So I have a very unique perspective than most people that talk about polygyny in a very cursory way. First and foremost, we have to not ask ourselves whether it's cultural, because that really doesn't matter. And you don't have to worry about if it's chaos, because God's people have been screwing up things forever, and God has reined them in. The fact of the matter is, we have to first ask ourselves whether or not the issue of polygyny is moral or immoral. If it's immoral, then leaving polygyny, if I understand the topic of what we're talking about, leaving polygyny is not only a necessity, but it's an obedience issue to God. If polygyny is moral, then we must seek God's word and when it is appropriate to leave polygyny and when it is not appropriate to leave. So in real closed fashion, if it's immoral, conversation's over. If it's immoral, you shouldn't be doing it. If you are doing it, you should leave. If it's moral, then we have to address when someone should leave and when they shouldn't based on the scripture. So that should really be the first question: is polygyny moral or immoral? If it's immoral, conversation's over. We're done with the debate, done with the talk, done with the roundtable. Moral, then we have to ask ourselves, what does God say about leaving, divorcing? When should it happen? Why should it happen? Should we seek reconciliation? What should our obedience be first to God, husbands and our wives, and to our families?
Thank you for your opening statement, Brother Gene. I wanted to say something as it relates to what you just said. I just want to introduce you. This is a relationship challenge. It's not a debate. So you may have been in other spaces within Debate Talk for you where it is a debate. This is not a debate. It's a community conversation round table. I thought that was very interesting the way, the topic is what it is, but, men are interesting in that you just discounted everything that was asked and then reestablished a new question. That's why I think this is going to be a very interesting topic, because the way the question is framed is for an intent and purpose. And instead of trying to understand what that intent and purpose is, you went about, and that's okay with your opening statement by, I'm going to make a new question. And so this is why I'm saying I know sometimes the spaces that people may be in have emotional attachments to the question of what you may feel that it's important, what you may not feel is important. But as it relates to what's going on within the nation as a whole, the question that's being asked is important because, as you see, the first thing that Ahwar went to was Isaiah 4:1. This is now looking at the customs and the culture of the people to determine whether or not this is something that we should see. And so now that's going to be a question of whether it's prophecy, whether it happened already. And so maybe, I'm not sure, because Brother Sal said he just called you and you agreed to come on, but just for clarification purposes, this is not an argument, number one. It's a community conversation, number two. I'm your host, Emunah Israel. If you have any questions or comments that you wanted to kind of direct or get clarity on. And for the purposes of staying within what has already been outlined so we're not all over the place, we try to have a title and a direction so that we can speak to that. And so I appreciate you trying to reestablish the title and the direction, but it is one that it has merit. Is it culture? Because a lot of people say it is. Is it custom? Or does it create chaos in 2017 in the generations that we have returned onto ourselves? So hopefully within that, it's not so restrictive that you cannot, positively contribute to the conversation. So once again, I want to thank you for your thoughts. And I'm going to go ahead to go to Sister Mayanah now. Like I said, we're going to go to the listening audience early on. So if you have something to say, feel free to press 1. We're going to go ahead to follow up again with our time limits in this way.
Yeah, upon the interruption, just letting you know we have Brother Mercy here, and we also have people pressing number 1 already. Just letting you know.
They're getting popping. Brother Mercy, welcome to the conversation, Brother Mercy. It was interesting to hear you last week. I look forward to hearing you this week. We're on a kind of time limit, Brother Mercy. Brother Sal is over there with his stopwatch. Would you like to have opening statements on escaping polygyny, custom, culture, or chaos?
Yes, I definitely would like an opening statement because according to the title, what I'm wondering is, are we trying to escape the culture of polygyny? Because the way I'm reading it is that we're in polygyny and we're trying to get out of it. So if we're in it, then that states that itself that it's customary or that it's a culture. If you say you're trying to escape it, that automatically means that we're in it and it's part of society. Now that's kind of interesting because over here in this part of the western part of the world, I don't see polygyny as an established culture. But if we was over there in the Middle East, of course that would be an established culture. So that's just something else I would like to throw into the pot, I guess. I mean, if you're saying we're escaping it, then how we get into it living in the Western world, and then if not, then I guess we create our own culture within a culture. I guess that's what happens, so therefore you try to escape it. So in that vein, I think it can be rectified. I think if you're trying to get out of a fire, I think you just have to follow the fire exits and you can get out. So that's all I had to say. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good discussion. All right, thanks, ladies, and thanks, Sal.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Brother Mercy. And definitely, it's coming from, this is called the relationship challenge. So to what Brother Mercy is saying, I'm not talking about pie in the sky. We're not here to speak about hypothetics. We are here to speak about what is actually happening, what is actually affecting the nation, what is actually affecting families and children. This is real-time data information. So a lot of people, women out there, who have been lured into this space and told that it is custom and told that it is culture and brought to Genesis to say, look at Jacob, and this is why you should do it. As Sister Mayanah brought out, and I'm going to come to her in a second, she brought out in her opening statement that a lot of times it's presented to the woman that this is utmost righteousness. And if you don't subscribe to this, then you're unrighteous. These are the ways that the culture has been spun. And when women oftentimes and children succumb, they enter into a space of chaos. And from that space, they try to, this is why hopefully, we wanted to have, but again, it's such a delicate area that some women don't speak out. And so now you have, like myself and Sister Mayanah, who have to speak out on their behalf that this is what is happening in the underbelly. It's something that is being done, and families are being broken, and fractured and splintered all over the place in the name of nation building. So this, again, once again, for the men who may not be aware, or the women who continue to remain silent, this is an epidemic. This is real-time stuff that is happening, and sometimes we can be so distant because we're in our mind, or if your role is the man, you're not seeing the other side of it. You understand what I'm saying? Or I've seen people jockey, have whole Facebook campaigns like they was running for the president of Polygyny, only in turn to cause problems and fractures in their own family. This is why the question is it leading to chaos? One person off to the cut could be like, that's not me, but you see your brother doing it. You see your brother every minute he comes to Knesset, he got a new Isha, but you're not saying anything. You see, what happened to your other family? Yeah, I don't mess with them no more. We're seeing this stuff and we're witnessing this stuff, and are we accepting it as culture, or are we looking further into what actually is happening? So hopefully that brought clarification for the panelists as well as those who are in the audience. Once again, feel free to press 1 as we go deeper into this here abyss. Sister Mayanah, the mic is yours.
Thank you for that. To recapitulate what Emunah has already stated, is that what we're seeking to do here is to interrogate the paradigm in a way that allows us a more holistic view, because very often we either speak of it in terms of it's very good or it's very bad. And instead of saying, okay, well, these are the merits and these are the ways that it's been applied, and are we using the correct facts to support either our affirmative advocation of it or our opposition to it. And so what we find, and this is the contention, what we find is that oftentimes the creator is put as the catalyst to this. And what we want to do is examine is, do we actually see the creator putting any of these things into motion? Or if indeed what happens is that people are creating circumstances, and if people are creating these types of permissive environments so that this particular marriage strategy comes into representation in the Hebrew Israelite community, both in biblical times and in contemporary times, and whether or not that is leading, as Emunah described, to something chaotic, or if it is indeed just a reclaiming of a historical past. And if it's something that we are seeking to emulate simply because we find them on the pages of our records and we don't have any understanding about how they got there, how they were implemented, how they were carried out, and we simply want to participate in something that we see on these pages without also taking into consideration the consequences of those actions, the context of those actions, and the applicability of those actions in contemporary times. And if we're also going to be, as she also described, conscious and honest about some of the very negative consequences of trying to duplicate this marriage model without the proper tools or the proper understanding, simply saying, okay, well, as you said, David did it, Jacob did it, I want to do it too. There's this Me Too mentality that is a bit rash and underdeveloped, a bit undercooked at times, and so what happens is we poison the pot. Even if in other spaces and in other cultures and other contexts, this is a viable paradigm for those reasons. We forget to bring along with the fantasy all of the reasons and the circumstances that create the paradigm that we're trying to emulate, and we don't often do that. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, looking into all of those things. Ahwar brought to our attention that this idea of genocide, this idea of mass genocide, could force this as a marriage option, and that's logical. That if there is this kind of cataclysmic eradication of the male population, that women would be more likely to want to or be available, open to the idea of sharing a man. And one of the things that, again, speaking to the mythologies that we are often confronted with, is the idea that we currently have that kind of crisis. And I hear it very often, and I see it on the social media pages where both men and women have adopted the idea that we have a shortage of men. And this is not the case. We have plenty of men. The men are just displaced and scattered and doing things they ought not to do. But the men are there. And if we're going to discuss, and I'll yield the floor with this, if we're going to discuss the perfect will or the perfect intent of our Creator, this is what the Creator created. 1.1 male for every female. That's what's born into the world that he created. He has established this as the sex ratio, 1.1 male for every one female. So if that ratio gets skewed, if the perfect will of the Most High is skewed, it is because man has interfered and decided upon the sinful nature. So what we do is say, well, because our men have fallen into homosexuality, our men have fallen into debauchery, our men have fallen into cases of incarceration, then now we have to accommodate for that. And we're going to respond to this departure from what the Creator intended by coming up with our solution. And what we do here is we're accommodating. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, 5 minutes is up. There you go.
Wow, Brother Sal, that was a wild sound. I'm like, what's that? Yeah, that was a wild sound. Like, what happened? Oh, sorry for that, Sister Mayanah. We're gonna come back and pick up on that thought. You led me back to Brother Ahwar. Thank you for that, Sister Mayanah. Brother Ahwar, you went to one of the prized scriptures, which is Isaiah 4:1. I believe we did a discussion on it, Sister Mayanah and myself, some time ago. It's interesting, and help me if you can. The way that Isaiah 4:1 is looked at is as though it's not a continuation. As though if one is going to say that this prophecy, unless you're going to talk about it perpetually and not specifically, then if it's perpetual, then you can't say 7 exactly. But if you're going to take it for exactly what it says, wouldn't one have to actually start at the beginning of that prophecy? Brother Ahwar? Can we just take out 4 and 1 and say, yeah, see, right here, this is what it means. It also says that 7 women are going to break their bread in one oven. It also there's going to be a famine in your land, in your homeland. Brother Ahwar, what are your thoughts that that's not even here? That's Israel, and that's Isaiah speaking to Judah when the nation was split. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's the reason why I say that's a prophecy, right? You know, there's a lot of scriptures in Isaiah that they're actual prophecies, but it's camouflaged like it's talking about a certain period. And I tie that scripture with this one. This is Isaiah 13, verse 12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. And that goes, let me read the other verse. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Then it says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. So I tie that in with Isaiah 4:1, that a man is going to be precious. So if you look at that dynamic, why would a man be precious? There have to be a man shortage. And the reason I say that, there's a scripture that have to be fulfilled where the Most High says he's going to make Israel like the sands of the sea. He's going to multiply them, right? So my question then is, okay, with Israel, how we dealt with culture, where you had times where women were unclean or men did a lot of priestly ordinances. So it would be intelligent to me for that time that men had more than one wife to repopulate to fulfill that scripture of Israel being like the sands of the sea. So that's why I didn't find that so crazy. But my question, I got a question for you two. So what actually, I never really heard y'all take on that. What do you sisters feel about a man having more than one wife? And I can really build from the topic from that if I understand y'all perspective. Like, do y'all agree with it? Do you have a problem with it? Have you ever dealt with it? Did you ever, what's y'all opinion on it? I never really heard y'all take. I've heard y'all you thought other people take or what happened with other people. Have you ever had a man that had multiple wives? Or what's your take? What you two sisters take on that? I just want to know so I can build from that on the topic. But go ahead.
See, Brother Ahwar, I like that. That was smooth and nice too. Because again, it's going to throw off the topic. See, and then it's going to get to see, you don't touch because you see how you did that nice and smooth. So I received your question. I'm gonna see what Sister Mayanah says. But here's why it's important. Mm-hmm. Here's why the topic is important. Because regardless of what someone may personally, quote, feel, right? The facts are the facts that are laid out before us. And this is why a lot of times I don't come personally unless I have a personal testimony on the show. And the reason is because I'm dealing with what is before me. And what is before me, as you just laid out Isaiah 4, one would have to say that we can have a whole discussion and question and the interpretation. A lot of the issues that we find ourselves into all of these different pockets that we fall off into is because of interpretation. And some people take interpretation and then make it a doctrine, and then they make it law. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so this Isaiah 4 that I just asked you about, it's because from the moment I stepped in, I can say this, from the moment I stepped in the door, this is the first thing, and Mayanah can speak, I'm going to give her the mic so she can speak. Multiple wives is the first thing that gets shoved down your throat as a feminine principle. Depending on the camp that you go to, more often than not. The moment you step in, it's like your Israelite starter package. Here goes your free zits, here goes your head wrap, and a man could have more than one wife. Now, if this thought is on the forefront of the mind, again, you're talking about broken people, lost people. They probably just stumbled into the truth like 3 months ago, and somebody sat them down and said that this was going to happen. And like Mayanah says, a lot of this half-baked, premature mentality has gone into the making of what we see before us today, and it is undeniable. This is from C to C, and this is kind of why I wanted to stick in this space, because what I'm basing a lot of I've done countless research. I actually have a course at the Soul Center, Brother Sal, I'll give you the link, Polygyny 101. We can look it up. Myself and Mayanah has done webinars. So it's not from lack of information and research in this area. It's looking at what has happened before us, what is continually happening, the words that are being said. One would be very untruthful to say it does not leave a bad taste in your mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying? One would be a hypocrite to say, I'm going to see all of this from the very beginning and see all of the damage and carnage that is happening and still be like, but Jacob did it, and not really assessing it, especially as a feminine principle. So as it relates to what you said, go ahead.
I just want to say that's why I wanted to know what you guys what your sisters take on it, because I'm on a campaign to, like you said, to put out the true right understanding on that, because people do use that. Like I met a sister down here where I'm at in Georgia, and I told her I was an Israelite. She said, "Oh, you one of them?" And I said, "Why you say that?" She said, "Oh, my husband used to be like." I said, "First thing come out of his mouth, he can have more than one wife." So men have used that scripture, Isaiah 4, and manipulated it with women to be really fornicators and whoremongers, but they use that to justify their fornication. And we're on a campaign to straighten that out with understanding. That's why I went to the part where that was used for a time period where there was chaos, not in this time period. And that's why I asked you all that. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay, so thank you for that. We got an admission here from Brother Ahwar. We're going to come to Brother Gene and Mercy in a minute, and let me check and check on the phone lines. Sister Mayanah, since he asked the question, it's up to you how you would like to address it. The mic is yours.
As you know, we tend to answer the question, brother, as you have experienced, women and I tend to not speak from our personal positions or try to impose our feelings on a discussion, because that necessarily detracts from the overall purpose of these conversations, because what we're trying to do when we have these community conversations is see what the thought the Creator has and how closely we can get to adhering to that, because we already know that whatever is in the hearts of we as individuals can go astray. So I think that although I appreciate you asking what our personal feelings are, speaking for myself, what my personal reflection is on this thing, or whether or not I would be or have been exposed to that personally, I think that it's more valuable that for me, what's important is that what the Creator has said and not what I think about what the Creator has said. And since this is a paradigm that is being forwarded, as Sister said, as something that is the litmus test for Hebrew femininity or feminine righteousness, then I think that it needs to be addressed honestly and for us to deal with it according to the way the ancestors have presented it, and look at the pitfalls of it, to see how it's represented, to see whether or not this is something that we should emulate simply because we have examples of it. And in this way, I would like to answer your question.
All right, brother Ahwar, I know you think we probably danced around, but as we continue, you know what I'm saying? We keep it true to form. As we continue, hopefully you'll get more clarity on the position. It's one, as you said, one of the things that I think has made this a successful series is that we have kind of surprised many people in the way in which we present our quote argument or our concerns. You know, many people discount women as, you're emotional, that's why I'm not talking to you. So this is why I kind of looked at you at the side eye like, oh, you said that's a setup question. Because right away, it sounded kind of setupish to me, because right away after that, it's like, oh, you're emotional. Oh, I see why. You know what I'm saying? And so you could understand that was my initial reaction, because we've tried to keep it so clean and professional all these 27 episodes so that we can actually be heard. Because for some reason, when you are fully in your space, men don't, and mostly there are men on the line who are letting their voice be heard, they don't respect all of that emotion. And they want some facts. They want some evidence. So I'm glad that you're on this mission to clear up a lot of the mess that has been made. We're not imagining it. We're not pulling it out the sky. Like, this is the Israelite starter package. You know what I'm saying? And so with that, I'm going to come to Brother Gene, and we're going to come back to you, Brother. Well, we're going to come to Brother Gene. Brother Mercy shortly, and then we're going to check on the audience. Feel free to press 1 if you have any questions or comments. Brother Gene, the mic is yours.
Well, first of all, I'm completely unaware of the totality of what you're trying to say when I was first entered into this, but now that I think I got a gist of it, let me emphasize the fact that when I felt like I was called to be a polygynist, my wife told me no. My wife and I entered into a monogamous covenant over 20 years ago. And so
your mic is breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
So as my, are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So as I felt compelled to live this life, I continued to pray that God would change my wife's heart, because I was not going to ruin one marriage for another. That's not polygamy. That's called serial monogamy. That's what God called it. As far as protecting women, and probably within 6 to 9 months, my wife came up to me and basically said, yes, let's do it. I said, do what? She goes, let's go ahead and I agree that we should live this lifestyle. So it wasn't me badgering my wife. It was God changing her heart. And it wasn't me badgering her every day, trying to beat her over the head with the Bible. Second of all, men, and I've had this discussion with men several times, they misunderstand prescripts of the Bible versus descriptions of what's going on in the Bible. Yeah, I agree. If there's going to be 7 women take hold of one man, whether a prophecy or was a time, it doesn't matter. It's descriptive, not prescriptive. It's not saying that every man should have 7 wives. It's not saying every man should have a wife like David. It's saying this is what happened. And it's not, even in the description, it doesn't say moral or immoral. That's another, obviously, another time. But just because the Bible talks about polygyny doesn't mean that you ultimately get to be a polygynist. Second of all, if you entered into a monogamous covenant with your wife, and that was the covenant, it was the contract by which you agreed to when you married her. Just because you found that you could be polygynous doesn't mean you should be polygynous, first of all. Second of all, your wife agreed to a contract, or your husband agreed to a contract, which is called a covenant, which is a marriage covenant. Now, if you want to break that covenant or make that change in that covenant, you have to get your wife's or husband's permission. And people go, I don't have to get my wife's permission for nothing because I'm the man of my house. Actually, God says you do. God says as a man, you need to honor your word, honor your covenant. And if you don't, you're a covenant breaker. And God does not appreciate by any means men that break their covenant. Now, if you are in a monogamous covenant and your wife says no, then it's no. And if you believe that God wants you to live that way, God will change her heart. Or he won't. But you have to honor that covenant as a man. Second of all, I've seen a lot of abuse when it comes to that attitude that men have. When it comes to, I can be polygyny, it's moral. Yeah, it might be moral, but just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. God does require us to keep our covenant promises. Shortage of men versus shortage of good men. There is a shortage of good men out there. I would encourage women, instead of to be a better woman, expect a better man, probably get one. And if the good ones won't change, or the bad ones won't change, they will after a while. Be a better woman, you'll get a better man. Don't settle for less than what is godly. I think that's pretty much all that I have as far as my notes are concerned. So if you have any questions, again, I don't think any men should be able to browbeat their wives with the Bible to make them live this lifestyle when they clearly don't. That's wrong. It's abuse, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you for that. That was the voice of Brother Gene. We're going to come to Brother Mercy. I'm glad you were able to get a bit more clarity on the conversation and for sharing your thoughts. As you said, people come into this walk differently. Those who came in before YouTube and, computers, it was more of a face-to-face interaction of which you would be able to see different things. And so, we may miss one another in translation as it relates to those who physically in these environments, as opposed to, turning on your computer and there somebody goes, if you don't want to hear their teaching, you turn it off. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like two different worlds, but in the world pre-YouTube, pre-Facebook, all of that stuff, you entered into these spaces where it was more often than not predatorial. Like people were divvying you up like spoils. Like people were playing Mindsy. I don't know if you're from up north, back in the day in the summertime, used to play That's Mine. Brother Sal, you know about That's Mine. You know what I'm saying? And you see a fly car go by, you like, That's Mine. Well, this is what people would play when you went into a new environment. Knowing nothing or just coming there, they had their designs and thoughts, men particularly. And so the emotional abuse that Brother Gene just spoke to, it's real. Like you're wicked. You're Babylonian, you're Western, you're Jezebel, you're everything in the book. If you don't if you don't agree to me doing this thing. This is, a lot of women have been browbeaten into this space, of which after they have come there and they're no longer, they're a former, like a shell of their former self, they try to escape. At which time they may have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children. Who knows how many children they have? And you're heard now that you're nothing. And a lot of times this is not shotgun weddings. This is bedside weddings. You have no witnesses. No, go. You have no witnesses. We spoke about that many times on the show. They tell you that sex is marriage. You have no recourse. There's no remedy. You have no protection. You have no elders. You're at the sole mercy of this individual. And if they kick you out on the street with nothing, that's just where you will be. There are women who have ended up in shelters. Like, this is the real stuff that people are going to say, well, you people are the children of the Most High. These are the things that justice must be served. We must speak about these things and uncover these things and give validity to the voices of people that are experienced, have experienced, and will experience because no one warned them. So with that said, I'm going to go to Brother Mercy, and I'm going to check on Sal. Brother, you had something to say?
Yeah, I had one other thing to say. There's a couple different things that we're missing here. First of all, prescriptive versus descriptive. You bring up a verse about polygyny, it might say that polygyny is moral, but it doesn't say that it's prescriptive. It never does. It says it's unless you're dealing with inheritance rights in Israel when it comes to the Levirate law. By the way, we're not living under the Levirate law any longer. We're not looking for inheritance rights for land. So that part is not prescriptive for us today. Second of all, when a woman got married, she normally got to give to her father from the prospective husband 7 years of wages as a pre-alimony payment. Now, the reality of it really comes down to is this, is that women, and trust me, I've had my phone calls from a lot of different families, a lot of different women, a lot of different men. And they go to these places thinking, this will all work, this will all work out, and find out a nightmare has happened. Well, the reality of it is there was no exit plan. There was no protective mechanism there. So, for example, when a wife is treated less than a wife, like it talks about, I believe, in Deuteronomy, where basically she's lessened her sexual rights, her food and clothing. In other words, she's treated now as a slave instead of a wife. She's allowed to go free, divorce her husband, and allowed to go free and keep the bride price, 7 years of income. And the reason that most people didn't have multiple wives, they couldn't afford the 7 years of pre-alimony. So the fact of the matter is women out there who I've talked to many of them, if your husband's pushing for this and you don't want this and you started out with a monogamous covenant, he is required by God's law to continue that covenant. God will change your heart if that's what he wants your family to do. But if you do decide to become in a polygynous family of some sort, whether you're coming into one or whatever, you need to have some protective mechanisms set up so in case something goes bad, you are protected. That means the husband maybe has legal documents, the wife has legal documents, covered children care, and all this stuff.
Brother Sal, that sounds just crazy. I'm sorry about that, Brother G. We have a 5 minute because we have so many people on the panel. We're gonna quickly. I'm sorry about that. You'll be able to pick up your thought on the other side. Brother Sal is serious on that. I don't even know what that is. Like symbols. What is that, Brother Sal? Lightning or something? Brother Mercy.
That's a basketball buzzer.
That's a basketball buzzer. Okay, Brother Mercy, your thoughts before we touch to the listening audience.
I mean, some of you guys brought some ideas to the table which I had thought about, but the thing is, what I really don't understand is, you know, we're in a Western society, so I just don't get this. You made a culture. What you really did is you made a culture, and a legal culture, by the way, inside of another culture. Because you can't legally have more than one wife in this nation. I mean, you can't legally do it. So that's why these brothers talking about they sleep with a woman that's their wife, because they know they can't get more than one marriage certificate. You know, but that's, you know, that's a little deceptive measures there. My brothers are not being honest. You know, but the reason why they can't legally make more than one wife is because they make these little rules. Well, if I sleep with her, she's my wife. But I just wanted to say, you know, my brother touched on it about the dowry system. What happened to that? I don't know what happened to the dowry system, because like my brother said, in order to have more than one wife, you had to be able to afford it. But even beyond that, I really believe, that, in the case of Jacob, when Jacob had more than one wife, it was a reason why he had more than one wife. He didn't go to Laban and say, I want both of your daughters. That's not what he said. He said, I wanted, Rachel. So, he still wanted one wife. You see what I'm saying? But then the one he wanted, he didn't get, and he got, blase, we know the story. But he didn't go to Laban and say, I want both of your daughters. And tell him, I'm going to work for you, these mighty years. No, that's not how it went down. And I think brothers need to understand that, it's kind of arrogant for you to go to somebody's father and say, I want two of your daughters at one time. That's kind of arrogant. So, and I just wanted to say that. And then I wanted to say, too, that there's so many pieces of the puzzle that's missing. People don't want to keep the entire law. I keep going back to this whole law thing. People need to keep all the pieces of the puzzle in order to have the multiple wives thing. But also, I do believe, like I said before, I still believe that a man should only have one wife, But at the same time, if we're going to get out of this, then first of all, the way to get out of this, we have to understand that what we're doing is illegal. It's unlawful. You know, men are not having multiple wives. They just sleep around a bunch of women. So we just got to tell the truth. Once we start telling the truth, you know, what Yahshua say, when a man knows the truth, you know, you shall be free. So if you know the truth, the truth will make you free. And once you know the truth, you know and what these brothers doing a lot of times is not legal, it's not lawful, it's not biblical, it's not what they did, what our ancestors did. And then you said a new family and all this, they got a new Isha and all this. No, polygamy is keeping all your wives together. And so I don't know why these brothers talking about they got somebody new. No, you got the new one, the old one, and the other one. And you paid for all of them. And you got their final submission in every situation. So to me, I don't see these brothers going through that situation. So again, and then with deliberate law, I can even show you that through Scripture, how deliberate law is the consequence of some sinful situation. In other words, it's a peace, like a peace deal or thing to make peace in a tomorrow situation. So I can even show the deliberate law. A lot of times that was done when the Jewish men went and married Canaanite women. And that's where you see deliberate law being implemented. You don't see it being implemented a lot of times between Jewish families. But that's just something else to table. And I just want to say that, and that's it. I'm done.
Thank you for that. Brother Mercy, for those who just joined us, we're talking about escaping polygyny. Is it custom, culture, or chaos? Brother Mercy just brought up another interesting point as it relates to the locations that we currently are. And why it presents even so much more of a problem, because the law does not allow for the support of all parties involved. And so you may have somebody put 20, 30 years into a relationship, and at the end of the day, they have nothing to support themselves or the families that were created. And so we're looking at it from all points. It is definitely, point number one on, the nation-building chart, like how to get out of Babylon. Have multiple wives. Like, that's like up there. And I'm like, wow, like Brother Mercy is speaking about all of the underpinning, there's a lot of missing pieces. There's a lot of missing pieces. So we're gonna continue this conversation. Brother Sal. Your thoughts right now, I know your thoughts. Anybody on the line, Brother Sal?
Yes, we have a few people that press number 1 standing by. For those just join in, again, that number 319-527-6239. Feel free to call in with your questions, your comments. We're going to go to the people right about now. Let's go to the first caller. Let's go to 702-806. You're live on the air.
Yeah. This is Bishop Isaiah. What's shaking, sir? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I was listening to the panel, and here's the situation. You have a spiritual realm, and you have a natural realm. The monogamous wives is not going to work in the natural realm, and the reason being because Yahweh Shah is not going to allow it to, because it is against commandments and against the law. Talk about the spiritual realm, you're talking about the kingdom. King David had many wives. King Solomon had 700, along with concubine women. Okay, other rulers, they had multiple. So when that time comes for those who make it to the kingdom, we're going to be allowed to have multiple wives, okay? But further, the natural realm, no. I would never do it, because, first of all, it's against the commandments, and second of all, it is not going to work. And that's about all I have to say on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was the caller. Thank you for your thoughts on that caller. Brother Sal, are you there? Do we have another caller in the queue?
Yeah, we do. We have another caller. Let's go to the next phone line. Let's go to 313-695. You're live on air.
Yes. Shalom. Emunah, host, and Mayanah. This is Sister Judith from Detroit, or Yahudi. I appreciate this conversation. Shalom. I'm glad that you're continuing on polygamy and polygamy's life. I agree with all of the above, chaos, culture, and is it right? I think the third one, I'm not sure. But I agree with one aspect. It's universal as far as the polygamy/polygyny. But it is understanding the scriptures. And you pointed out so well, Emunah, and the brother prior to that, speaking that it's a covenant, and it's between a man and a woman. Then your viewpoint, Emunah, that because we're so broken, We're so scattered, and not just geographic, but in our thoughts, in what we do, and how we present ourselves. So this is going to be an ongoing subject because we need time to heal, and we need to do the research to understand this particular subject, because you hit on something very important. It's the children that are being affected by the wrong aspect of the era in the polygamy aspect. And that is what was brought up, men going to other families, leaving the other families behind. So this is very important, and I hope we have a forum, basically how it affects our children with these relationships. Totally. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sister Judith. Go ahead, Brother Sal.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's let Gene respond to that. I believe he has children. Gene, you can respond to that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is where I get real protective. Okay, my kids are. I think that all kids should be protected just extremely, and unfortunately, I've even had wives leave that have just chaos. One of the problems is that the church, the believers, if you want to call it believers of Yeshua, aren't really standing up for polygamists. They're just kind of doing it all on their own. And there's going to be a lot of chaos because of that, because people aren't being biblical. I've heard a couple people are telling me it's not biblical, it's not legal, therefore blah, 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 which I won't get into just yet. But as far as the children are concerned, that's one of the things where I talk about on Polygamy HQ is that we need to protect the children legally because there's a legal aspect, but we also need to protect them emotionally. That means when you bring a new wife in, let's say your wife agrees to polygyny, then when you bring a new wife in, it needs to be slow. Okay? Unfortunately, a lot of these guys are shotgun weddings. It's done, it's over with in a heartbeat. It's instantaneous. And I'm going to tell you right now, from my own experience, you don't know someone that's clear across the country just because you talk to them for 5 to 10 months. And you bring them into your home. You don't know who this person is. You don't know how they live. You don't know how they keep their house. You don't know how they keep their finances. You don't know how they deal with children, how they love children, how they discipline children. You don't know nothing about them other than what they said over the phone. And unfortunately, there's too many people doing that very thing. They're bringing people into their home, or and I mean, by the way, leaving your one wife for another wife just because you think you ought to makes me sick. It actually hurts the children. We as husbands are examples of Christ to our wives, our children. And if we don't get that piece, we're destroying the faith of our children and our current wives while we go gallivanting trying to prove a point. The point is we're supposed to be God-honoring and bringing up God-honoring posterity. And if you can't do that, stay out of marriage first of all, and stay out of polygyny because we don't need you. Okay? I didn't get in polygyny because I wanted to get a little extra on the side. I got in polygyny because I believe God was calling me into it, one, and two, I cared about women. I got sickened by the men that were out there, the quality of men, the way they're taking care of their children was disgusting, molesters, drunks, and everything else like that. And I saw this as a way to be a blessing to women and to grow my family and to have more godly children. And if you can't do that, stay out of marriage, stay out of polygyny. We don't need you, period. And as far as the guy that was talking about legal and illegal, listen, the state of Minnesota, it's called an open relationship. I'm breaking 0 laws. In fact, I had the police come to my house. Okay, that's a little scary. Ready to handcuff me because they were looking for more than one marriage license. But the fact of the matter is, I don't need the state's permission for something God's already given me permission for. It's like getting permission to pray. Are you kidding me? So the fact of the matter is that my covenant between me and my wives, or between me and each one of my wives, is between me, my wife, and God, not me, my wife, and the state. And so the reality of it is, folks, is that if you, like I said, if you can't deal with growing up godly posterity, stay out of marriage, stay out of polygyny. We don't need you.
Alrighty. This is getting interesting, heating up here. For those who just joined us, that was the voice of Brother Gene. He's a guest panelist here on a relationship challenge. Right now we're speaking about escaping polygyny. It's funny, we had this on the bill for some time, but we had so many things that came before it that we had to keep pushing it back, and I guess it came at the right time. Escaping polygyny, custom, culture, or chaos. And from what we're hearing, it's interesting to hear the men, the other side, because sometimes if women come and say it only, oh, you guys are just complaining, oh, you guys are doing whatever. But the reality is, this is a real issue within the community. It's not about what it should be. In order to fix any problem, you have to be honest and open about what it is, what it has become, and how has it manifested. There is a round table on YouTube. I'm going to see if I can share it on my page as it related to one of the biggest examples that we know of polygyny for Hebrew Israelites within the last century is within Ben-Ami's group. And I've done, like I said, a lot of research, just listening around, doing research and putting my ear to the ground about what's going on. And they're one of the biggest examples who left in 1968, got into Israel 69, 70, and this is one of the foremost tenets within how they operate in Emunah and the surrounding cities. And it's interesting to hear the other side of the coin. Most High rest her life at this time, Sister Mahalea, before she passed away, she did a lot of expose work. She did a lot of work with uncovering some of the same things that exist here on an individual basis. These things were existing there as a collective, and it warrants our attention, because if we continue in this way, if we continue to profane the name of the Creator amongst the nations by not dealing with our behavior, not telling the truth, and using the Creator as a cover for our own desires and our own, indifferences and our own ego, it will come back to us as a people. And as Sister Judith said, the children are ones who silently suffer as they watch us feel our way through this experience. And so there's one that the mothers especially and the fathers have to keep in the forefront of their mind, is how you're going to affect and mold and shape. And sometimes, and I'll go ahead and come back to Sister Mayanah, and then we're going to come back, go back around and come to the phone lines. Sometimes people are so focused on extending their families that they neglect the ones that they already have. Sometimes we think it's quantity over quality. We see our four-parent Isaac, Yitzchak had 2 sons. Abraham had, if it was up to the Most High, he would have had 1. He came back later and had, 5 more with Keturah. But the point is, this thought process that we have to be, or the men have to be like Gideon, where we saw what was the end matter of his children, or they have to be like Dawid, but not realizing that Dawid wasn't there as a father. And if some people are going to get upset, when you look at the story, as a father, Dawid was lacking in certain places. This is why his son Amnon could try to rape Tamar. This is why his son looked for justice for his sister. Do you understand what I'm saying? These are the things that happen when you have a multitude of children that one is not able to physically provide for them, protect them, and then be there emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Then we kind of rob the children of the very thing that we say we were trying to give them in the first place. But so with that, I'm going to come to Sister Mayanah, check on her, see how she's doing, and then we're going to come back around to Brother Ahwar. Sister Mayanah, Brother Ahwar. Brother Gene just spoke, so we're going to check on Brother Mercy. So, Sister Mayanah, the mic is yours.
I'm glad that you brought up David, because as you said, David is often the one that people look at to say, to justify this desire for polygyny. It's, David did it. David, this illustrious king of Israel, had all of these women. And as you said, although we can say that he was a noteworthy king, and later he was a repentant servant, he was very lacking in the areas of being both a husband and a father. And we see that his family life, which is what polygyny is looking at, his family life suffered a great deal due to the decisions that he made. There are all of these kinds of disruptions, all of these tears in the fabric of his family. And as you said, it's because he didn't have the attention to deal with them. we see what happens, as you said, with Tamar, and that she was left unprotected, that these feelings of lust were stirred in the hearts of his son. All of his children, in some way or another, with only very few exceptions. I don't know. I can't even say there are many exceptions, except for the ones that fall out of the narratives completely, managed to escape the pitfalls of having him being spread so thinly. We see with Solomon, for example, Solomon has this idea: I need to multiply women unto myself because in doing so I can ensure reproductive success. We have 1,000 women. We have Solomon with access to 1,000 crotches, and he has listed 3 children. My brother has 3 children from one woman. So Solomon, who had 1,000 wombs, managed to have 3 children listed as his legacy. You brought up Gideon also. We said Gideon had 70, and the end result was the one child, who was the issue of a concubine, eliminated all of them. According to the Creator, the children are the inheritance of the Creator. And so this idea that we are going to engage in this particular marriage strategy because we're looking to reproduce and to become numbers, beyond numbers. We don't see this being the model. Like I said, 3 children my brother was able to accomplish with one woman. He did not need 1,000 uteruses to do that. So this idea also, when we talk about the widow, we're doing this because of the women, the widow, it's also the widow and the orphan. There's the imperative that that the men should be fathers to the fatherless. And we see less conversation about how we want to protect the children, how this paradigm is supposed to protect the children. All of these adults are very concerned with their own, as you said, ego and their own desires, their own concerns. And so polygyny in that way, as it's being reproduced in contemporary times, falls short of even the supposed biblical idea that they are forwarding as a reason or justification for entertaining this model.
Thank you for that, Sister Mayanah. I'm over here queuing up my C3 colon. Now I'm over here drinking my drink, so it took me a while to get back to the phone. Brother Ahwar, your thoughts. Thank you so much for that, Sister Maya. I know somebody might be like hitting, doing the ill Jamaican liquid in the background, upset, like these sisters is bugging out. But if we're going to be honest about the end result, because it says wisdom is principle, therefore get wisdom, but in all you're getting, get understanding. Understanding is the end of the matter. So it behooves us to look at the end of the matter, to look at the sword never leaving Dawid's house, to look at Gideon's children all getting murked because of the indifference, to look at, it wasn't Yiftach, to look at the son of the concubine, and even how our foreparents, even though the mother or the father may have repopulated with all of these women, the children had status and class, and the children of the, quote, legitimate women, they knew this, and they used it as a way to tease and to mock one another, and it created, as it creates in this space, if people are not careful, it creates this disorder. It creates this level of chaos. Brother Ahwar, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say this, right. I had a good opportunity in this walk to be like a Hebrew crash dummy for a lot of brothers. That's why I could teach real in depth more than a lot of brothers, because I've went through all this stuff. The whole being introduced to you can have more than one wife. And here, there's a lot of things that go into that when you look into it. There's things that's inside. Like, for instance, there's things that I found out that was in my genetics, that was in my genes from my father. Father loved women, So I used to, when I wanted another woman, I said, oh, man, there's a scripture that I can have another woman. And that was really to appease my lust. You know what I'm saying? Then when you get into that, and like you said, the groundwork that go into it, that's the part cats, I used to always do that in my teaching. I said, yeah, it looks cute. You walking down there, got your cute wives, but when you do the groundwork with it, like you said, the family and taking care of the children and the time you need, and then it disrupts you going out teaching and all that stuff, then it can become, it's a real lifestyle, And I started thinking, I said, I'm crazy for doing that. like to have all these different wives and all that. Yeah, that's my other wife. But when you do the math and, like you said, the obedience of it, like that stuff was given to men that had wealth, that was real holy. Okay, men that was holy had that opportunity because they were holy enough to deal with that. That's a holy, you got to have a clean heart to really deal with something like that. And we in captivity, like the brother said, I would not suggest that. So when I teach, I tell brothers, you don't want to deal with that, not now. No, not here. You're not ready for it. You're not spiritual enough for it. But I'm going to read this now and pass it. This is why David said this. This is Psalm 51, verses 10. He said, create in me a clean heart, O Father, and renew a right spirit within me. And that's what caused him to with when he went with the sisters, because his heart wasn't right. Okay? And we inherited that from Adam. It's because Adam had a real evil heart in him. So a lot of men, that's why some men make the wrong decision. They get into that, and like you said, the children pay for it, and it could be terrible because the heart's not right. I'm just sharing my experience. I'll pass the mic.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your transparency and your honesty, Brother Ahwar. That's what's needed. What's needed right about now is some truth. If it's something that somebody's struggling with, because we like to put the little veneer on it. We like to put the little gloss on it, you know what I'm saying, and make it look like, it's so holy and righteous. But the truth is a lot of men already have this mentality. And once they find out that they can do it, all they do is gift wrap it in some Torah and say, see, this is why. And to be honest, if a lot of men were more honest, the women, they wouldn't get the women to the certain degree that they're getting them. And so they know within themselves, listen, I have to say this thing, not like, one woman is not enough for me, you know what I'm saying? And it might be a bit of my ego, but, I'm going to need many more. Because the reality is that more often than not, it is, like you said, the work that comes with even maintaining your wife that you have. People are not willing to put, and the responsibility is then put back on the women. I understand now in this day and time that there is a thought that 3 broke people is going to come together and be an economic powerhouse. So now the women are not only just used for, they're not, I'm sorry, they're not just used to repopulate. Now, you can't afford to stay home. I know you got like 6 babies, but we need to build up this money. And so now they're used as savings plans. They're used as ways to say, oh, who told you? We're in Babylon. So, okay, you're in Babylon so you can have multiple women, but we got to understand that you're in Babylon, so these same multiple women have to go out and make sure that they support you having multiple women. So it gets really hairy, you know what I'm saying? It gets really complicated. It gets really chaotic. And my question, as always, like Sister Judah says, where's the children? Like, if anybody knows me, like, I'm a big supporter and champion of children's rights, in the sense that their right to be protected, their right to be provided for, their right to have some stability. Because as I deal with, solonomics and healing and always talking about that, as I said to this woman who walked up to me today and said, wow, your children are so well behaved. I can't believe it, and people say that all the time. I said to them, I started to speak to her, that we don't understand that whatever we provide or don't provide in the beginning phases of growth within a child is going to determine how much adjustment that individual has to do when they grow, how much injury we do to the soul. And so when parents are not cognizant, because they themselves have emotional deficits, physical deficits, energetic deficits, and they go into reproducing more children, what we're doing is Xeroxing a copy of error. And we continue to Xerox this error over and over until it gets, unrecognizable. And so, as a people, I think parenting classes are very important. You have people talking about, I want to be a parent 10 times over, but you're lacking certain life skills and certain coping skills and certain problem resolution skills. These are the things that, a lot of times, one would have to say that the need to multiply women in this space has less to do with Father Abraham, has less to do with what our foreparents did, and has more to do with the inclinations that we already have, and women as well. Women as well. It's not just the men, it's women as well who are playing into this and passing it off, and this is my estimation based on what I've experienced, and passing it off as polygyny. And again, as you said, this serial relationship, one pushes the other one out, the other one comes, the other one pushes the other one out, and it's this cycle, this revolving door that leaves everybody displaced to a certain degree. So with that said, brother, I'll check on Brother Sal. We just heard from Brother Ahwar. Brother Sal, do we have any hands in the air? If you would like to chime in, I know it's a sensitive topic, escaping polygyny, chaos, culture, or custom. Brother Sal, any hands in the air at this time?
All right, people, once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Just to let you guys know, we have 34 minutes left on the air before it's 10 o'clock. However, I see that the show is actually scheduled to be a 3-hour show live on the air. I know, Brother Gene, I told you, it might be 2 hours, but I actually see that it's scheduled for 3. However, if you can't stay, understand, just let us know, and I'll pretty much hang up that. That goes for anybody on the panel. If you can't stay, but if you want to, continue to stay with us, please feel free to join us to the duration of the show. Again, we're going to go to the phone lines out there. The number is 319-527-6239. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio, Relationship Challenge, Escaping Polygyny. Is it culture, custom, or chaos? Let's go to the phone lines as usual. Let's go to 678-517. You're live in air. 678-517. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can I be heard?
I can hear you. How you doing?
All right. I didn't even know I was still in line. My name is Adon Gamal from Atlanta, Georgia. I am definitely pleased to be on this phone call tonight. I like the way it's going. Let me get right to it. When I think about the topic at hand, escaping polygyny, I looked to see what this show was all about. And it scared me when I first seen it because, this is speaking of the fundamental Latter-day Saints out there in Utah. And that happened some time ago. And it's really just painting a whole negative picture on this whole entire thing for this, to me, this topic tonight. And we know that from this negativity outlook, right, of how relationships just went bad. That's how I look at it. These arrangements went bad. Okay, it's like a painted picture, really bad, and that's what we're looking at. Okay, and that's not how marriage is supposed to be like. And I heard it tonight. Education is the number one thing I have to think of when it comes to the solution of it. Education, understanding all about this practice and doing it the right way. Is it culture? From my understanding, it is culture. Okay, our people, not just in the scriptures, but if you study the Middle Eastern lifestyle, outside of America, I mean, it's 90% of people. I'm gonna say I don't know all of the statistics correctly, but most people outside of America they practice polygyny. Okay, it's done here, but it's serial. We know that. We see that here today. It's a serial, which is not polygyny. It's polygyny, which is coined. I'm sure a lot of people know about that term, polygyny. Okay, it's no responsibility of any man. But the problem is, what I see is that it's men controlling it. Men controlling it. And that's where the problem comes in at. But if the women were the one to control it, okay, it's a fact that this is going to happen. I heard earlier a sister tonight, she brought out the fact that men being incarcerated, the ratio, the homosexuality, the unavailable pairs of men who are married already, and then just the lifestyle of prostitution and thus forth. You still have a problem in our hands, okay? Women are just basically out in the cold. Now the solution, that's what we need. Is really the solution, a better picture on how this thing should actually go. Not the negative outlook, because we got that, okay? And I hear the outcry. It's real. It's a lot of people who messed up, just the name of polygyny, okay? Because it's like the instructions the Creator has given us. He's given us this. We all was born with this specific instructions, like the animals. So if it was for just one man with one woman, what would happen to all the other women? That's my question. Not to take it off the table, what the theme is tonight, but the fact of the matter, it can be chaos, yes, but it's all based on how basically it's done, and that's being honest. Men have to be honest. Women have to be honest when you go into a particular situation, a marriage contract or covenant. Things need to be understood. You know, you don't want to get in a relationship and then find out later. That's why a marriage preparation program is needed. We have that. We have in the Marriage Society, which we've been doing for 10 years now, we've been having a preparation marriage program where people get educated. And polygyny is the advanced level. You got to know what to do in a monogamous relationship before you get to the polygynous level. So those are some of the things I just wanted to say. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Well, thank the caller for calling in. The caller brought up some very important points. As you said, I'll echo it again. Education is very important. Education is very important. As it relates to what he said, culture. This is culture. It's cultural, not just for Israel. If one could look around the world and see this model practice in one way or another, then it's not necessarily specific to biblical times and the nation of Israel. And what I found to be a most beneficial study, like I said, I also compiled it as a Polygyny 101 course at www.the-soul-center.com, is that it will open up your eyes to look at it in different spaces, in different cultures. Okay, this custom of taking on multiple women in the case of polygyny, when you look at its inner workings in different cultures, some of the thing is documentaries, some of it is doing reports. And why I think it's very important is because we make a lot of assumptions, men especially and women, and I said it before and I'll say it again, we make a lot of assumptions and we make our own scales of righteousness based on these assumptions. It was spoken about earlier as it relates to emotional abuse. So I know we want to let's just get to the positive highlighted points, but that's like jumping over all of the wounded people and let's just get to the people that's okay. And disregard all of the people that currently is before us wounded. You know what I'm saying? And we have and they're looking like, well, what about me? You know what I'm saying? Well, what do I do now? And that's what happens more often than not. People really don't come, as the brother said, to get the pre-counseling. A lot of times people come at the back end when we already made the mistakes, when we already jacked up, and we want to know how to get out of it. And to my experience, that's a larger majority of the people than prevention. A lot of people are looking for the cure. And so as we're having this conversation in the open, for me, it's important to keep that in the forefront, not to just disregard that right now somebody may be listening who wants to know, man, so what do I do now? You know what I'm saying? Where do I turn now? What do I do now? What am I supposed to do with my children? How is this going to work? And so hopefully we can speak to them at this point. Brother Sal, do we have anybody else on the line?
Can I make a recommendation, Sal? We've already had 3 callers, and I've got 8 different points here just from the 3 callers. Do you think maybe our panelists should maybe speak to those 3 callers first?
Mona, is that
I would like to say something.
Hold on. So the request is, because what time is it, Brother Sal? We have 9:34. And we have Brother Mercy on the other side who would like to say something. We could keep it to a minimum as we go around, but we definitely want to hear from the callers as well as the panelists. And so we can come to Brother Mercy and then Brother Gene. Brother Sal, you could keep the time definitely. And for those who have just tuned in, we're going into overtime, so make sure that you're called in or on the line so that you could continue to hear the conversation. Brother Mercy, go ahead. The mic is yours.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, let's talk about David for a minute. See, David, you remember Absalom tried to kill him, his son, because his mother was a princess, which means she was a daughter of a king. So she probably had high standards. She probably was a high-standard black woman. You know, some black women you have pillow talk with at night, your wife, she probably asked David, "Hey, baby, I'm pregnant. I know my son's gonna be the next king. You know, I know them other wives you got. I don't know what you told them, but my daddy's a king, and my son gonna be the next king." And Absalom thought this. I mean, so David, he really didn't speak on the matter. If you look at the story, David didn't make a great announcement who's going to be the next king. It didn't come to much later. So, I mean, brothers got to really start being honest, because David wasn't honest. Because I'm pretty sure he done had conversations with these wives, and when you got a wife and you supposedly love her, this you making promises. Brothers are making promises to these wives back in the day. I know they's making promises. And the thing is, I'm not saying David said her son will be next king, but I'm pretty sure she had expectations. So my point, even Hagar, what was the deal with Hagar? She was just a slave, yes, that and the other, but they couldn't get her just to sleep with Abraham unless they promised her something, and that was her son was going to be an heir. That's what they promised her, and that's why she slept with Abraham. See, we're skipping over very important facts and details of the story. Hagar's son was supposed to be the next heir. That's why she slept with him. That's the whole reason behind it. She wouldn't have slept with him unless he made a promise. You see, or Sarah made a promise. And in those days, if your son was going to be the heir, going to be the next king, or going to be sitting on the throne, that was a deal. So my point is this. Absalom's mother, I'm sure, thought her son was going to be the next king, because she didn't try to stop me either. So my point is this. When you got multiple wives and this, that, and the other, it's not as pie in the sky as people are trying to portray it. There's a lot of responsibility. And David is a very wealthy king. I mean, let's not forget that, too. Half of these brothers do not meet the standards of David. I mean, let's just be clear about it. I mean, and then you got this whole situation about you in a country where you're allowed to have one master. And was it Romans chapter 13, 1 and 2, it tells you to obey the laws of the land. So the lands and the governments are set up in this part of the world this way for a reason. And you're benefiting off a monogamous marriage society. You're getting the benefits of it, but you're not exercising its laws. So, example, if you were to go in the Middle East, you had to pay a dowry. Where it's legal, you had to pay a dowry. You would have elders. You would have supervision. You would have somebody watching over you. So you don't want to deal with that. So you try to illegally do it here, but so you don't have to deal with the elders. So you don't have to pay a dowry. So you don't have to follow protocol. See, won't you go somewhere where it's legal and then see what they do? Because they also got other laws. If you don't take care of their children, they kill you over there too. So we can't kill you if you don't take care of people, but over there they do. So my point is this. Don't live somewhere where it's legal and lawful and do it, and see if they deal with your behavior. You know, because I don't think they could survive in that environment. I think they try to take advantage of this in society so they don't have to have checks and balances. So I say all that to say David was a wealthy man, and a lot of brothers are not at the stage, the financial stage David was at, to do those things. And even David, with his financial position, his son almost killed him. We forget that part. I mean, come on now. I mean, he couldn't tell that brother that Saul was going to be next king. They weren't trying to hear all that. Them other wives weren't trying to hear all that. You know, you got black women here. You got to tell them what they want to hear sometimes. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. You can't tell a black woman her son not going to be next king. See how things going to be in your household. You know. So I say that to say, and then she was a daughter of a king, one more thing, which means she had high standards, which means her daddy probably was telling her, oh, my grandson going to be the next king of Israel. You know, he probably was kicking it too. So my thing is David had a lot to deal with. And when you got all these wives, you're going to have something to do. But I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm out of time. I'm done.
My goodness, that buzzer is crazy. Thank you for that, Brother Versa. You brought us some very, very interesting points as it relates to the checks and balances. That when you just pick one thing that makes it more accessible without any checks and balances, it's more alluring. But like you said, that accountability, just like, and I'll give it to Brother Gene, Just like when Laban said to Jacob, when Jacob was going off, he pulled him to the side and be like, he told him, you better not take anybody else besides my daughters. Like he understood that there was an accountability factor there, that you had to. It's like how many dudes today will go up to somebody and say, somebody's father and say, you know what? Yeah, I got like 3 Ishas, and I'm trying to make your daughter the 4th. Really? Yeah, because I'm trying to help all the widows and the motherless. Like who does that? You know what I'm saying? And then have parents who are abreast enough to ask the appropriate questions, because in this broken state that we are, parents are just like, okay, whatever she wants to do. But from a Hebraic and a cultural mindset, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, where are you going with my daughter? You know, and he couldn't come like a pauper with 2 empty hands talking about, yeah, I'm going to take care of them and I'm going to build an economic power how I'm supposed to be daughter's back. You know, it doesn't work like that. But, again, it's working like that now because, again, as it was said earlier, there's a lot of missing pieces. I know Brother Gene probably don't agree, so we're going to give him the mic for his 5 minutes before Brother Style comes again with that buzzer. Brother Gene, the mic is yours.
All right. Well, first
that
of all,
buzzer
ladies,
is serious.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ladies, next time your husband says to you, hey, David did it, I want to be like David, say, listen, keep pushing it. God tells you to be like Christ. He was single on earth the entire time he was on earth. Maybe you should try to be like Christ. You keep pushing it, you might try it. So, anyway, the whole, because David did it, crap is just crap. Second of all, we didn't want to go down the moral issue or moral path, but it's come up like 5 different times. So let me address this. People will say this all the time. Well, all the polygamists in the Bible had problems. They were just all problems. Their families were just problems. Then I ask them, how many families were polygamous in the Bible? Well, I don't know, but they all had problems. That's like saying not all the animals could fit on the ark. And you ask them how many animals were on the ark. He said, I don't know, but they couldn't fit. The fact of the matter is, if you did your Bible research like Dr. William F. Luck has done, you can get his books on Kindle, by the way. There are over 40 polygamous families, and only 5 had issues in normally dealing with progeny. If you want to deal with the fact that monogamy had problems just out of the gate, you look at Adam and Eve, their kids killed each other, okay? So the reality of the matter of fact is that around 10% of the families actually had problems, and it was due to jealousy over progeny, not anything else. After that, they really didn't have a whole lot of problems, okay? Next, we go on to the issue where 2 issues, actually. One with the guy with David and Absalom, and then 1,000 women and 3 kids. Just because, first of all, you can't read more into the story than what is actually given. Just because they don't always quote all the children that came from a relationship. They don't always tell you what they were feeling or thinking, and for you to put that in there or make an assumption, just bad biblical studies, period. First of all, if you can't take care of the family, this is the next statement, if you can't take care of your family, the Bible says you're worse than an infidel. So let me just translate. If you can't take care of your family and you add another wife just because you want to feel like doing it, and you still can't take care of your family, that actually tears your family apart, or it's worse, or you can't feed them, you can't house them. God says that you're worse than the person that actually deserves hell. So before you start putting on more wives, ask yourself if it's moral. Second of all, this whole legal business, there's a lot of different legal things. I am proof and image of the fact that I'm living legally as a plural husband, in plural marriage with plural wives, and I'm not breaking the law here in Minnesota. All right. The idea that more women give you more money, kind of using your women like a piggy bank, it doesn't work like that. Trust me, I know. Okay? What it does mean is more mouths to feed, more resources going out, more gas, more cars, more this, more that, and everything else. A wife is not a savings plan, okay? You need to be able to provide for your wife. What if she gets sick? What if she gets hurt? Then what happens to your savings plan? What if she dies? What happens to your savings plan then? What's this next one here? Oh, men controlling polygyny versus women. I literally across the board, a lot of men are pushing for polygyny, but there's a lot of women pushing for polygyny. I've counseled men saying, tell them, listen, I don't care if your wife wants polygyny. If you don't, then don't. Same way, vice versa for women. Okay, chaos. This whole chaos theory with, plural marriage is going to give you more chaos. Listen, anytime you add more people or add more children, it's going to be a little bit more chaotic. That's just the way life is. I mean, just to say that polygyny is chaotic because there's 4 wives, well, that's about like saying, well, you shouldn't have more than one child. That's stupid. Either it's moral or it's not moral, okay? The fact is, when you add more people in a business, in your family, chaos is going to happen. You need to deal with the issue of sin. That's come up several times. Marriage certificates, come on, listen. We shouldn't be getting marriage certificates in the first place. I don't need to ask for permission from the state from what God's already given me. It's like getting permission to pray, getting permission to read your Bible. Would you do it? If the state required it, they might. And are you going to break the law? As far as Hagar was given to that's a debate issue. But that's bad hermeneutics, bad systematic theology all the way around. And I won't even go any more to that. But the fact of the matter is that...
Oh, we got a bell this time. We got a bell.
Thank goodness.
Thank you for that, Brother G. I'm gonna have to pull your coattail a little bit because you're saying a few. Yeah, I know Mayanah is coming for you. That's why I just stepped in the middle like, hold on, cause my sister about to come behind me and blow some fire. But this is Emunah, that's Mayanah. So I'm the host. Mayanah is the home panel. You keep saying things like theory. At the same time, you're saying that you have countless phone calls bearing witness to this theory. So my question is it a theory or have you really experienced the chaos and the disorder for people trying to implement this system without full knowledge? It's a yes or no question.
That's a great question. I've experienced both the chaos and the beauty of polygyny from myself, my family, and other people. See, the reality isn't polygyny. It's about how we are dealing with it. Like you talked about with money, how you talked about how are you taking care of your kids, and a lot of other stuff.
No, but what I'm saying is, you said in your statement that you just said it's a theory, but in reality, it's not a theory, is it? It's a reality. It is something that people, because if we say to people, if we dismiss people and their experience by saying it's a theory, when we know through our counseling, through our coaching, through our interface, it's not a theory, and that more often than not, people are experiencing a chaotic space, then why can't we just say that? Why are we discounting it, or you in particular, and what you just said, discounting it as a theory?
Yeah, I was actually thinking I was talking about Bible verses and talking beyond what the scriptures actually say.
Okay, that was my first question. Thank you for answering that. It's not a theory. It's something that's actually happening in this space and time. Probably right now, somebody jonesing talking about go to the book of Exodus 21. Let me show you, baby. So that's probably happening like right now as we speak, right? The second thing
that comes back to the description versus prescription. God's not telling you to live plural marriage. He's just describing that it is there, and it's more.
What I'm saying, Gene, is what is actually I'm like realist. Like what is actually happening? There's one thing the Torah tells you to do. One thing, whatever you're doing is something totally different. And so right now, I personally am speaking to what people are doing as it relates to using the women as how to come up. That is something that actually is also happening. You may not be aware of it. It may not be happening in your side of town. Using the women to say the more women I get is the more money I'm going to get because it's going to be the more money that you can make.
I hear that kind of stuff, and that's stupid.
Your wife is not
your piggy bank. Yeah, it does happen with people.
Okay.
And it's theory. They're basically never polygyny. They're thinking, hey, what if I had another income house? Okay. Now, that's not how I operate. That's how a lot of the families that I know that are respectable polygynous families operate. They don't operate like that. Okay.
But my question was, because I'm going to go to Mayanah, and I don't want to make you get off point. My question was to some of your rebuttals is what it felt as though you were discounting things because you may not necessarily agree with them as not actually happening as theories.
No.
But the truth is that they actually are happening, and it actually is a problem within our community. Would you agree, yes or no?
This is what I'm discounting.
Hold on, question. Hold on, Brother Dean, hold on. Is it actually happening, and is it actually a problem within our community?
Yeah, there's two problems here. One is that people actually do think stupid, okay? And they come up with stupid theories. Okay? Now, does that mean that polygyny is immoral? You make that jump and leap that says, well, because this jerk has done this, that now polygyny is horrible. No, what that jerk did was horrible, and he should never be allowed in polygyny, hence maybe even marriage, monogamous marriage.
No one is making the leap. No one is making the leap. I just want to. I
heard it
I know you.
Times.
No, what I'm saying is, I personally, Emunah, the only thing that I'm doing, again, as we do on this show from week to week, is to give voice to the voiceless and to speak to issues that are. And so this is what I'm doing. And so just for clarity, and I'm going to give it to Sister Mayanah, my issue that I took with what you just said, to me, if it was me in that position, it sounds like invalidating someone's experience because that may not be your experience. And so this is why, just for clarity's sake, I wanted to see whether or not you would be in agreement that this is a problem within the community and that the conversation is actually yes?
Yeah, and I've actually counseled 5 or 6 families not to get into polygyny because they weren't ready. They had these ideas that are floating around, like you said, on the internet, which is dumb. They haven't thought through them for 5 seconds. They're just looking how to get a side piece and make it sound moral. And the reality of the fact is, if you want a side piece, go down to the local bar, and I guess for a couple $100
Keep it clean,
yeah,
brother.
For a couple $100, you can do all the side piece that you want.
Oh my goodness! Keep it clean, keep it professional.
I am, but that's the reality. That's the reality of what we're saying. Is a lot of these guys are doing it just so that they can fulfill whatever desire they want, and without any concern for their family. That's not a polygynist. That's not a monogamous. That's not a husband. That's not even a father. That's a guy who has got his own thing in his own way. He shouldn't even be married for that matter. Okay?
Very interesting.
And that is
very interesting.
We at Polygamy HQ have counseled many families to stay out of polygyny just because they were not ready and it wasn't something they should get into.
All right.
Period.
We're gonna let Sister Mayanah. I know she probably has some things to say. Sister Mayanah, you already know. Keep it clean, keep it professional. Sister Mayanah, your thoughts?
I think I used some of them, and I listened to as Eugene clarified some of his statements. But in his response, I'll say, to my assertion that there are 3 children that are the surviving issue or deemed issue in the case of Solomon, in your period. I will go ahead and address this period. What happens is, for example, we have, I believe, maybe 19 of David's children mentioned by name, and then there is the added caveat of and sons and daughters. In the case of Solomon, we don't have and sons and daughters. We have 3. And so to that, sir, period. If there were more, just as the number more, we have the number of women that Solomon had access to mentioned. If there were more issue, we would have and sons and daughters. When we have the entire genealogy of Shem, of Noah, of Noah's issues with Shem, Ham, and Japheth, we see that it's so-and-so begat, blah, blah, and sons and daughters. And even when we see the Adamic family, we see Cain, Abel, Seth, and sons and daughters. However, in the case of Solomon, we have 3. 1, 2, 3, period. And so that's why I made that assertion. But I appreciate that you heard it when I said it. Going forward, the other thing you stated about women controlling the paradigm, when the discussion was brought up, the idea was not completely foreign, because when we see these things happening in the biblical sense, it isn't because the man got this the urge and believed that he received the calling. Instead, it was typically something that the women were forwarding. In most cases, in the case of the levirate, it is the right of the widow. In the case of the sororate, or the surrogates, where the women are saying that they have bearing, and they are selecting who is going to bear on their behalf. This is not a decision that the man is making. So the conversation the caller made in terms of where the women are actively involved in the process, indeed controlling the process, the outcome is different. We see that Abraham had 318 male servants born in his home that he was able to call to war when Lot was in trouble. And so that's just the male servants that were trained in combat that were born in his home. So obviously he had more than that in terms of somebody bore them. So there were females in his home. And yet it was when Sarah selected Hagar to do this duty on her behalf that this went into place. So we see Sarah choosing. If it was up to Abraham, Abraham had a house full of women. And clearly he chose nobody. It was when Sarah did that. It was when Leah did that. It was when Raquel did that. And when Rebecca chose not to do that. So this is still a lot of the women doing things in their participation. So when the caller was speaking to that, I think that's what the caller was referring to. Also, I find it problematic, and this is not something that I will leave squarely at your feet, because it's something that I hear polygynists in general forward as an example, comparing women and children. The way you multiply women who are not your physical or biological issue, and children, this is not the same. Women are a complete and whole being that have nothing to do with your biological issue, and your children are different. So multiplying your women in no way is the same as multiplying your children. And neither should you have the same type of affection or relationship with your children as you do with women. Your relationship with women should be different and separate from your love and affection for children. Love and affection for children that are similar to your love and affection for women is called pedophilia. So let's not consider. So when I hear this comparison of saying that I can't love a certain amount of women, or I can't have a certain amount of women as much as my children, and this word stupid that I've heard you use repeatedly, I will respectfully ask to consider our one rule, that we be respectful of one another, because as everyone has said, some of this is very prevalent and real to the people in our community. I'm not certain if you are part of this community based on some of the things that you have said, but the purpose of this particular segment is because we are seeing so much feedback from the people, our people in our community, and these are the things that they are saying.
Okay. So, if I may respond.
Hold on, let's bring Emunah back. Emunah back on there. Get Emunah.
Yeah, I'm back. Everybody, you have 2 minutes before we go in overtime. Make sure your phones are logged in, because overtime is a little strange. Once it hangs up, it doesn't let you come back in. So please keep that in mind.
Yeah, hold on.
2 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, we're good for the night, actually. We have an extended time.
We good?
So,
oh, okay, we good. We good this
hour,
time.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually on the physical air. All right, cool beans, Brother Sal. All right, Brother Gene, you have, 5 minutes, Brother Sal, for you to respond to the
It shouldn't be too long.
All
right. First of all, we'll take care of the biblical aspect. The 3 and the 19 kids, the Bible usually describes what it needs to get its point across. It doesn't mean that Solomon only had 3 kids. I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm not saying he did. It's okay? Second of all, the male and the female thing. If you're in a monogamous relationship, the wife has the same rights to decide whether or not polygyny is acceptable for their family as the husband does, because it's a covenant they made. They will have to make an addendum to that covenant together if they choose. Any man that takes exception with that, too bad, you made a covenant with your wife. I'm as much about the rights of a wife as I am about the rights of a husband. And just because you can have multiple wives doesn't mean that you are allowed to have multiple wives because your wife said no and you got into a monogamous covenant. Now, if the polygynous covenant was understood before you got married, then even with that, I would say that to any man, listen to your wife.
get some opinions, consider it, pray, and take it slow. A life of another person or other children is not something you want to disregard. As far as calling people stupid, what would you call a man that actually takes a whole bunch of women and is not able to provide for them? I'd call them pretty stupid. And unfortunately, you might have some research behind you, but I've lived this life. I've got some experience, and I have actually dealt with people that have literally sickened me in this. Now, I've met a lot of guys and a lot of families, amazing people, good thinkers, wonderful family men, great families. Okay? As far as equating women and children, I'm equating the issue of being able to multiply children, like wives, and how you got the sexual thing with kids and women and how you want to pervert that. That's just a little creepy to me. Okay, it's a lot creepy to me that you would even make that association because
women and children.
Yeah, I'm equating numbers. You can have more children, but you're going to have if you can have more children, it's going to be chaotic. Just like if you have more wives, it's going to be more chaotic.
Incorrect.
Sure the heck wasn't talking having sex with children, which I'm not sure if that was implied or not. The fact of the matter is that I'm very passionate about families. I didn't get into this because it was a fun thing. I mean, I was kicked out of a church because I actually stood up for what God's word had to say. We kicked out several of them because they just didn't want his family in there. No other reason other than I was a polygynist. Now, if I was gay or lesbian or transsexual, I'd be fine. They'd welcome me in with open arms. But, I mean, if I was polygynist, they'd kick me out within a month or two. So this is a real personal thing for me. I mean, a lot of people that are talking on this forum live this life. They've never lived this life. It's all theory, or it's all research. But day to day, minute by minute, I live this. So I would respectfully ask you to consider that the experiential part, the knowledge part, together are important. And please don't associate me with child molesters and child predators if that's what you were doing. I don't know. I'm not going to make that assumption right out. I'm going to ask. Please don't do that. Because at Polygamy HQ, we don't even tolerate it even in discussion. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's sick stuff.
Let me respond to some of these accusations or questions that you're
now. Go ahead.
Okay, let's do this. I think you're asking me to consider your experiential input, and I'm asking you to consider your experiential input as well, and consider that perhaps you're too close to the topic, and that you're not allowing me to finish, and maybe you can consider some intellectual distance from this instead, because all of your assertions and all of your contributions so far have to do with you personally. When the brother Ahwar asked previously, both myself and Emunah, what our personal positions were on the subject, she and I both said we're going to pocket those things that we personally feel about the subject in order to see what the Creator has said about it, because it is what the Creator has said that we are privileging over our position, our experiences, or even our feelings on the topic. In terms of a point of clarification regarding the comparison between women and children and the elements of pedophilia, I was not asserting that you personally, and again, perhaps you could benefit from a little intellectual distance, that you personally are interested in pedophilia. Instead, what I said is that women and your relationship with women are separate from your issue, your biological issue and your children. The way you multiply children is not the same way you multiply women, because women come with their own set of adult expectations and needs. You cannot say that I'm going to and say, oh, I'm looking at this in a nominal sense, and I'm looking at it in terms of numbers. The women are not numbers, women are not statistics, women are full beings that require things. And I heard you earlier, and I respected so much of what you said earlier, because you did speak to the participation of the woman that you are married to. You did speak to taking heed to her readiness an ability to accept and be a fruitful part of this new transition into another space. Now, as an anthropologist, understand this, because this is what I appreciate that you can hear that there's a great deal of research behind it. As an anthropologist, I would say this. The paradigm, the marriage strategy of polygyny itself, cross-culturally, I have no issue with. And I stated from the beginning, the concern is this: the way we include the Creator as the impetus or the catalyst for why these things are happening. The way that certain people, again, not you, because we don't know you. I personally am the one that asked to have you on the panel. So it is not you that we have a concern or contention with. It is because there is these other conversations happening outside of you, sir, that are including these other questions of compatibility, concern, are we taking care of the welfare of the women, the welfare of the children? Other people are not being considerate of these things, not you, sir. So we're discussing this holistically as it affects our community. Again, I'm not sure if you're a part of this Hebrew community based on some of the things that you are saying, and this reference to churches and such, but this is what I want to offer you in terms of clarity as to why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. And no, sir, it is not an affront against you or the paradigm that you are involved in. I'm hopeful that has clarified some things for you.
Can I respond?
Wait, hold on now. Hold on. That's Brother Mercy. Hold up. Wait a minute. We got to check on the audience because, it's getting hot up in here. Brother Mercy, if you could just hold that thought 1 second. Let me check on Brother Sal, make sure the audience is good, and see if they have any questions or comments before we just turn this into a panel discussion wholly. I just want to make sure that everybody's being heard. Brother Sal, do we have any hands in the air?
Oh, yeah, we have a whole lot of hands in the air. Throw your hands in the air.
In the air.
Yeah, a lot of people standing by. We do that. We definitely got to get to the audience, but of course,
we got to get to the audience. All right, we have time. Yeah, Brother Mercy, you do your thing real quick, Brother Mercy. You might get that little buzzer, that little ding real quick. So do your thing, and then we're going to go to the audience.
I thought it was pretty interesting that this brother Gene, somebody said something about him, he's able to respond, and he said something about me, and I was never able to respond. He said bad Bible study and bad hermeneutics, all this stuff he said about me, I wasn't allowed to respond. But let me respond to this brother, because obviously he don't know who he's talking to. Let me tell you this. One thing I know about you, and I'm going to tell you about you, because I know the kind of man you are. Number one is, I'm going to say this about you, and it's true. You never married the daughter of a king like David did. So you don't have the type expectations that David had to deal with married to a princess, okay? When you marry to royalty family, there are expectations, brother. You're not just going to walk into a royal family saying, oh, I want your daughter, I want the princess, and you ain't got no plan and you ain't got no promises. You can forget that, okay? And a lot of times guys like you, I'm not saying this is you personally, but a lot of guys like you marry women with low self-esteem. Because I'm going to tell you it's true. Because I know it's so true. Now, if you was like David and you married a princess, you telling me you would have married her and then told her I'm going to marry somebody else and have her son be king? That's not happening, brother. That's not going down. And then you think her father going to go with that? Her father's a king. So I know he got expectations. See, this is what you're not dealing with. You're not dealing with expectations. It's like the state expects you to get a license to get married. The state that you live in has expectations, brother. Everybody got expectations. And you say, well, I don't need no license. I just let God do it. I got that because you don't want to meet the state's expectations. So there again, brother, you get kicked out of churches because you don't meet the church's expectations. See, this is what I'm talking about, brother. And see, this is what I'm saying. You're doing all this, but you don't want to submit to the governing authority. Now, I say this, and if you want to have your little polygamy, that's cool. Why don't you go somewhere where it's legal? So you have to pay that dowry each time, and we'll see how much money in your pocket, okay? Because you got to come with some gold and silver and a whole lot of other stuff to do what you're doing, okay? But you don't want to do that. So you want the easy life. And see, what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to get on you, but I'm just trying to help you understand what I'm saying. Just like I don't know you,
You don't know me, but one thing I know about you, by what things you say out your mouth, you have no idea what David dealt with on a consistent basis. And that's why Absalom was ready to kill David, because Absalom knew. He said, look, my mama is a princess. I deserve to be the next king. So you're not going to tell me I'm not going to be the king. That's why David ran for his life. But see, you ain't never had to do that. Why? Because you ain't never married no princess. You ain't never married no royal family. So I say all that to say, don't put other brothers down before you understand, until you experience, that's your favorite word, experience, okay? Until you experience what David experienced, you really can't talk about it. So I say all that to say that, and you do your thing, brother. But what I'm saying is, your experience is limited, and your knowledge is very limited. And when it comes to the scriptures, you got to understand, you can't walk in nobody's shoes unless you wear their shoes. And David, I'm pretty sure, was wearing some very expensive shoes because he was a king. And until you become a king, you really can't understand what they deal with. So that's all I had to say about that, about David. And every brother wants to be like David, but ain't nobody a real king. So I just say that, and I'm done.
All right. That was the voice of Brother Mercy.
Yes.
Brother Sal, you got it. On the phone lines. Thank you, Brother Mercy, for letting your voice be heard. Brother Sal.
Yeah, hold on a moment. Before we got to let Gene respond to that. You got to let him respond to that.
Man, Brother Mercy.
You got to let him respond to that, man. Yeah, Gene, you respond
boy, Brother
to that.
Sal, all right, Brother Sal, do your thing. I relinquish the mic.
Am I
unmuted
now?
Respond to that real quick. Nah, you're on the air. You can respond to that briefly.
Okay, excellent. So, I forgot your name, ma'am. Sorry. Talk to me again. Say that your name. Are you there?
Who would you like to respond to?
Either one. I don't care.
You do care. Wait a minute. Hold on, Brother Gene. Hold on. Someone, if you're asking for my name, I'm the host, Emunah. But Brother Mercy is the one who just spoke to you. And so when you say you don't care, it's kind of very important to see who you're going to be responding to, because I'm not the one who just spoke.
Well, I said
Actually,
lady, so I figured it was you, so I'm sorry.
You heard a lady?
Yeah, you.
Wait,
I heard you, and he was a guy, right?
No, you heard Mayanah.
No, the Mercy guy.
Yeah.
No, wait.
I'm Mayanah that spoke before that.
Right. And one thing I would say
No. I'm talking about the guy that just spoke.
Right. This is what I'm gonna say to you. This is my first time having an experience with you. When we come on here, we even though we maybe getting heated and things, we try to be respectful, as Brother Sal always say, keep it clean, keep it professional. And this is why we make it a habit of calling each other's names so that we know who we're addressing. So I know sometimes I may sound a little similar to Mayanah. Mayanah is the one who responded in response to what you said concerning Solomon and 3 sons. Mercy is the one who responded to you saying that bad Bible study, bad hermeneutics. So one thing I must say before you do respond is that you have been kind of on the slide, throwing shade and type dissing people on the platform. And so you may feel like you're being attacked, but the reality is a lot of the energy, and Mayanah addressed it, stupid, I don't care, that kind of energy that's putting out, I just wanted to let it know, because I'm the type, I'll just let it know what it is. It is what it is. You have been doing it the entire night. And so this is why I said to Brother Sal, I kind of wanted to go to the audience. Brother Sal, I wanted to give you the floor, because it's going to create kind of a back and forth if you come back with that same type of energy. So I just wanted to give a word to the wise that, you know what I'm saying, a conversation is good, but it's not debate talk for you. It is the relationship challenge. So just keep that in mind as you come back with it. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying a word to the wise. And with that, speaking, if you're going to respond to the female who spoke to you, that's Sister Mayanah. And the male who spoke to you, that's Brother Mercy. I relinquish the mic.
Okay. That's why I said ma'am, because I was trying to be respectful. I'm not good with names, and those aren't common names up north where we're at from. So my apologies for not being able to articulate your names. And when I was talking ma'am, I thought I was talking to you. So I was talking, and I was going to deal with the topic of brain surgery. We talked about experience and knowledge. You know, I don't know if anybody would want to have a brain surgeon that says, you know, I've done my research, which is good, and I've done all my studies, which is good, but I've never actually done a brain surgery.
or would you prefer someone with experience as well as knowledge? And the fact is that we're not just doing brain surgery. We're doing heart and soul surgery here. And you might be talking to people who have been hurt. But I actually get to talk to people who are been hurt and want to save their marriages, or they've been hurt because they've been kicked out of churches, or they've been hurt because their family disowned them. Okay? And yeah, it is personal. And if you're not willing to accept somebody who's dealing with the personal aspect, this is just going to be, might as well just write a book. Now, I appreciate the fact that you guys had me on this forum, but the reality of it is I'm not hearing a lot of experience, and it sounds like I'm the only one with the experience. Plus, I've dealt with other people with the same experiences, and I'm pretty vicious when it comes to families because I think families are pretty darn important. Okay, and I think men are, and a lot of these men are rather stupid. Okay. Now, as far as the David Absalom thing and the gentleman that was talking about that, one of the reasons that David had such problems with his family is because he had an affair with Bathsheba. It was an adulterous affair, and it was one of the judgments. It wasn't, and the fact of the matter is that he talks about experience about being a king. The fact of the matter is, I'm sure by what it sounds like, Mercy is not experienced as being a polygynist, and that's what this forum is about. If you want to talk about experience, I have more experience, and I'm closer to experience and knowledge about being a polygynist to David than I think Mercy is. Now, it's not to discount what he had to say. He had a couple of actually good points, but the fact of the matter is there are other things that he had said that were, if you ever hear somebody say on this call or any other place, I believe, or have you considered, or do you think about, they're filling in gaps. Now, that's important sometimes.
You want down there and get it, please?
But if you're going to use that as a foundation for what you believe about what's moral, what's not moral, what's good and what's not good, you gotta have to pick up the pace a little bit, because that won't fly, and it doesn't. And there are a lot of people in churches nowadays that are not even Hebrew Israelites. I mean, talking about other churches today do the exact same thing, and they're the exact same crime when it comes to the Bible. Now, Mercy said a couple good things. Great. But you can't fill in the gaps with I believe and I think, and maybe this person wouldn't do that, or the king. You don't know. You're not a king yourself. You don't have the experience to speak on that either. Okay? I don't have experience to speak as a king, but as a polygynist, which this topic's about, I do. Go ahead.
Okay. Brother Gene, the topic is about escaping polygyny, meaning that those people who have had bad experiences with the institution because it has been pushed as culture and custom, and it has caused chaos within their lives. And it's really talking about, because men are coming from one, and that's kind of the panel, when Brother Sal started to tell us, I'm like, there's a lot of men on the panel who will be coming from, and we have to check on Brother Warren in a minute after we come from the audience, who will be coming from that's versatile, from a specific standpoint. And so, as you said, related to one more thing, and then we could come to the audience. As you said about Dawid, like if we're going to go into Bible studies, we could go into Bible studies. Dawid had problems before Bathsheba. We can go into Bible studies. Let's stop pretending that Dawid wasn't already married to Shaul's daughter, Malka, before Bathsheba. Let's stop fronting like he didn't run off and leave her, like she wasn't the one who put the dummy in the bed and told him to go because her father was coming. Let's not front like his father didn't give her to somebody else already, and when Dawid looked for a political move, he went and got her back. So we can talk about Bible study right now, or we can talk about why people are using the text to justify the nasty behavior that they're perpetuating right now.
Well, they shouldn't be allowed to do that, period.
But it's like in the days of Judges, everybody does what's right in their own heart. We know that's where we are. That's why the book of Judges is there for testimony. The law is there, but the testimony is also there to say everyone is in their own spaces, in their own homes, making up their own laws. This is true, and it has happened before. It has happened before in our history. But no, what I'm saying to you, and as it relates to experience, then no one said no one else on this panel had experience. That is a great assumption on your behalf. And
it
because
is an
you're
assumption.
coming, yeah, it is a great one. And because you
no,
are
not
coming,
really, because of what I hear.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. You're still
Gene,
assuming
you
because
keep on commenting. You have to hold on, one at a time.
yeah, hold on, Gene. What I'm saying is that it's a great assumption. We thank you for coming on the panel. We thank you for sharing. But as I believe it was Brother Mercy said, there are other spaces. You're speaking about your personal experience, and that does not cover the gamut. That does not cover all of what is going on within the nation. So with that said, we're going to go to the phone line, Brother Sal, and then we're going to check on Ahwar. I don't know if he's over there asleep or what, but we're going to check on you, Brother Ahwar. Brother Sal, the mic is yours.
Yeah, now, Ahwar, you still here. This call actually dropped.
I know, Ahwar. We just checking. You know we're checking on you.
Yeah, but once again, we're going to go to the audience. Again, we have a lot of people standing by. Hot topic tonight. Hot topic. We got a line of people out there right now that's waiting to get in this conversation. Again, that number 319-527-6239. Once again, you're listening to Debate Talk for You, the relationship challenge topic for those who just joined in. Escaping polygyny. Is it culture, custom, or chaos? All right, so we're going to go to the audience out there. And again, for the new listeners out there that's calling in, got to keep it clean. As we always say, keep it clean, keep it professional. Let's go to the phone lines. We got a 504-485. You're live on the air.
How you doing, Sal? How you doing, panel? It's actually a real good show. Surprisingly good to me. I really don't watch the relationship channels, but I definitely will be from now on. Emunah, you're doing a beautiful job, as well as Sister Mayanah in the panel. Yes. I definitely feel that polygamy and its culture is something that we shouldn't practice right now, only because I feel that we shouldn't read the Bible in context sometimes. I feel we should do it all times. So with that being said, the culture that we live in now, today, it isn't conducive to being married polygamically to more than one person. I mean, just with capitalism doesn't support the way that we as Israel looked at polygamous relationships. Also, as time goes on, things change. Back then you didn't have, the things we could do now. Like, say, for instance, like go to the movies and, do certain things like this and that. So to the brother Gene, I want to ask, I would like to know from him, like, how do you operate? What is your culture with your wives? How many do you have? I heard you say that it's not really about making children. I could be wrong that you didn't say that, but that was the main reason why we did it back then. And like I said, like when you're in your culture with your wives, I mean, how do you operate? I mean, is there any jealousy? I mean, how do you guys, Netflix and chill? Do one sit on the love seat? Do you sit on the other sofa with the other one? Well, I'm just trying to figure this out. So, like I said, like the brother Mercy said, also, it's kind of like real conceited of us brothers to think we out here like David or Solomon or, even like my name say Gideon, and we could just run around and take care of all these women, but we can't. And I've also heard brothers speak to how Sister Emunah said that it could be beneficial. I've actually heard, not Israelite brothers, but I've heard brothers from different idea beliefs say that, get married, you can come up, you can make more money. So that is definitely in the air as far as like a pro for brothers to get married. So, that's all I want to say. It's a good show. It's a good show. And like I say, Brother Gene, I just would like to know, what is your culture with your wives, and, how do you guys operate? Thanks.
All right, Gideon, thank you. That one I can't remember. It's a Bible name, so I got that one. Should we practice it now? You made that statement, correct?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well, I feel we shouldn't because it's no recourse for our sisters. Like the brothers, we can do whatever we want. We can sleep with them and say, okay, now we're married. But when we decide to leave them, what is the recourse for the sisters? Because back in Israel, when we were a nation, you just couldn't leave a woman for anything, for nothing. It had to be basically adultery. So, today in these times, brothers have 4 or 5 wives, and, the woman might not want to get a job, so he divorces her, and he just has her in the cold. So I feel we shouldn't do it until, and even once we become a nation, I feel there's no need. I believe in the word Yeshua, and I feel he kind of spoke to that, when he was on earth. So I feel we really, And, you know, it's like I said, it's just so many things that done added on through the passage of time that, you know, you kind of need to concentrate on one woman these days, you know. So, yeah, that's, you know.
Correct. Okay, so as far as should practice it now versus practice it later, the culture should not determine to us as believers what we should do, when we should do it, and how should we do it. It really should be led by God personally. You know, because if the culture decides, the culture has decided a lot of things that doesn't match up with God's word. Now, does it make it easy? No. I mean, having multiple wives is harder than having one wife. But harder doesn't mean worse, and easier doesn't always mean better. So keep that in mind. As far as I have 2 wives, and as far as jealousy, there's jealousy amongst my kids. I mean, my wives are going to have jealousy from time to time. I have jealousies from time to time. In fact, I was just talking the other day about my wife went out, they went shopping, they spent like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours shopping, all right, spending my money. They just opened up my checkbook and ran with it, right? So I'm sitting in front of Netflix chilling, and they're spending my money. So it's 4 hours later, and I'm like going, I wanted to go. Why couldn't they take me? Honestly, we all get jealous. Even I get jealous at times. All it is we really want to be with those people. We really like those people. Jealousy is it all depends what the jealousy is about. But most of the time it's about, hey, I love these people. I want to be with these people. I feel left out. And that happens in any relationship, even in monogamy. Okay? As far as my wives, are smart women. My wife has an 8-year degree in education. I mean, she's not a dummy by any means. And smart gal. My wife, Amy, intelligent woman, just artistic as hell. She just really, brings a party together like nobody's business. Really smart gals. Nice, kind, sweet women. And you know what? There are days that they have their days, okay? And but most days, I talked to my wife BJ one time, and she got a little mad because they're like, "Oh, you poor thing, you just got in those abusive relationships, you poor thing." She got mad. She's like, "You know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I love my wife. I love my family. I love my sister wife. She's amazing. We have an amazing family. You have no clue." And she got a harsh word against one of their sisters. She'll have your hide. Okay? So just like family, just like sisters, just like siblings, just like family, we protect our family. We love our family. The culture, you talked about a little bit about culture. Culture's tough. In the United States, it's tough. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It just means it's going to be tough. One of the things we do at Polygyny HQ is we counsel people. Have you thought about this part of culture, that part of culture? You know, getting a job, keeping a job, fellowship in churches, and all this kind of stuff. You know, all this stuff all plays into play. And because we have the experience at Polygyny HQ, and the people that are living this life productively and positively, we can speak to those people who haven't lived it. When I started out, there was nobody really talking about it really smart. And I see a lot of people losing because they don't think about everything that goes in play, and they just bulldoze ahead, wrecking everything in their path. But I know one person's right now, they've spent 8 months cultivating a relationship. Now they're going to drive and go see them. Then they're going to spend probably another 8 months cultivating a relationship. Then they're going to bring her over, and she's going to probably live in her own separate house. She's not going to be a wife yet. They're going to have to learn each other a little bit better. So that's smart. That's intelligent. We, as polygynists, for those who are out there, have to do it 110% better. Why? Because the culture is anti-biblical, and it's going to come against us anyway. As Hebrew Israelites, you've got to do it 110% better. When you speak about a topic, when it comes to the Bible and faith, you've got to do it 110% better because the culture's coming at you. So as polygynists, Hebrew Israelites, or anybody that's trying to hold up the Word of God for what it is, you have to do it 110% better because of the culture we live in. And with that, is there any other questions I missed? And no, I don't sit on Netflix a lot. I read a lot of books.
All right, this is rather interesting. Getting interesting. I reserve my questions. Make sure that the audience is, and let their voice be heard. Wow, time is flying. It's 10:30. Brother Sal, are you still there?
Yes, we do have more questions lined up on the phone line. All right, so let's go to the next caller. And I'm going to just ask the audience out there, please make your questions as brief as possible due to high volume of callers. Let's go to the next person. Let's go to 347-731. You're live on air. 347-731. Can you hear me?
Okay, shalom, everybody. All blessings to the Most High. I came in late on this conversation, so of course I missed the first part of it. I did see the topic, escaping polygyny. And I have to say, in my many decades in my way of life as a Hebrew Israelite, or as an Israelite, I should say, I've not been a member of a polygynous family, although I was invited to be one. But I have watched and seen many of those relationships. I happen to have some so-called Muslims in my family who also are in polygynous relationships. And I have been able to observe them and even speak to the members of these relationships. And I have to say that there's been some good and there's been some bad. I have to correct you on your thing about Absalom and Dawid. I know that he may have had expectations of being the next king. However, if you notice, the book says that Dawid never spoke to Absalom good or bad, which meant that he never got chastised for some of the bad behavior that he may have experienced as a child. He never got brought up, he never had his comeuppance about anything. So being the spoiled son of a king, he pretty much got his own way, and this is probably why he got that arrogant attitude about what he could do as far as his father was concerned. I also heard some mention about Hagar and her expectations for her son, and that's simply not true. A servant doesn't have those expectations because Sarah gave her to Abraham for him to have seed, and therefore it is counted to Sarah's household. I know that I've heard a lot of stuff about this thing about, well, Sarah was so cruel and everything like that. We have to remember in Eastern households and in many households where there are servants present, these servants don't have rights except for what those are granted to them by the master, and those now that are codified in law about what happens if you cause a servant to lose their eye or that kind of thing. But back in those days, even before the law was codified, you have the situation wherein that servant is at the bidding of the master or the mistress. And this is exactly what happened when this woman started to get up in her face, up in Sarah's face. What did Abraham say? He said, deal with her as you would deal with her. Go right ahead. This is you. This is on you. So we have to understand the relationship, first of all, between servants and the people who rule over them. I know that we have a tendency to feel very tender towards servants because of our cruel bondage in Egypt and because of our cruel bondage in this land. But we have to remember that the status of a servant in any society, any civilized society, there are statuses that go along, and there are strata there. There are statuses that go along with your particular station in life. Not that you can't move from one to the other, but that takes some other kinds of doing. As far as the polygynous situations are concerned, like I heard the brother say, I think it was brother D or G, I can't remember, he said something about people can't speak from their experience. Well, let me just say this. You don't have to have cancer to realize that it's a disease that's terrible and that's killed. You could actually watch people go through this particular situation and you understand some of what they're going through. Of course, you cannot feel what they are actually feeling, but you certainly can base it on your experience. And I know, just like I heard the thing about a doctor, I worked with doctors, and some of them had much experience, but they also were they had problems. I remember I used to do the academic. We had to do the academic recertification for many of the doctors on our staff, and believe me when I tell you, some of them were compromised. So that means that just because these people have experience doesn't necessarily mean that they are expert in that field. So I just wanted to clarify that and bring that to the table. Also, I just wanted to say this too. One of the things that we're talking about, why this has become such an issue in Israel, is at least in the Israelite community, as I view it, and as I've gone around and spoken to people and seen various experiences, is that it has now become a situation where the law is used to lure some women into what should be considered or could be considered polygynous relationships without the proper standards being set before they enter these relationships. And while it is true, and I have to refute, a man does not have to ask his wife's permission, a wise man will try to get the compliance of that first wife, the second wife, or however many wives he has at a time before he brings a new woman into that household, because they're all going to have to deal with them, and that woman is not just coming into that man, but she's also coming into that family. So therefore, we have to have some considerations here, and you have to a wise man would not tear down his own house either. So I just wanted to bring those little points out as I've been listening to this broadcast. This is very interesting. I'm very glad that this subject is being discussed, because it is a situation that has caused a lot of consternation, a lot of divisiveness and whatnot in our community, and it does need to be aired. Toda Rabah.
Toda for that. That was the voice of Emunah, elder in the community with many, many decades in, and her words are always welcome. And thank you so much for sharing. Brother Sal, I know the phone lines is lit up, so we're just going to keep hitting them out. The box, once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. This is Emunah Yisrael hosting the Relationship Challenge. The conversation today is escaping polygyny. I know we kind of, it was touch and go there, but escaping polygyny, custom culture, or chaos. Brother Sal, the phone lines. Babak Shah.
All right. Yeah, we got to get to the people. Let's go to 607-331. You're live on the air. 607-331. You're live on the air. 607, can you hear me? 607. All right, 607, going once. 607-331, going twice.
Oh, sorry. I pushed by accident, so I just wanted to listen.
Oh, all right, that's cool.
No
that's
problem.
cool. No problem. We appreciate you, though. Appreciate you for listening. All right. Let's go to the next person. Let's go to 347-303. You're live on the air. Three 347-303. Are you there?
Shalom?
Yeah. Hey, shalom.
Oh, is it me? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Shalom. Shalom. This is Sister Aisha from New York.
Hey, shalom, sis.
Yes,
Hey,
how you
shalom,
doing?
sis.
Thank you for inviting me, Mayanah. Okay, let me be brief. Patience is a virtue. Okay. First thing is, for the New Testament believers, I find it hard to believe that there are people who observe the New Testament and practice polygyny when this in the New Testament. Let me pull the scripture because I had it marked here. 1 Corinthians 7:2. I'm sorry. 1 Corinthians 7:2. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
1 Corinthians 7:2 for the New Testament believers, which I am not anymore, but I'm just saying. It says, "Let every man have his, his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband." So for anybody, whether it be anyone on the line who's a New Testament believer, I would like to, them to justify that, because I find it hard to believe that you could practice polygyny and then still believe in the New Testament when it clearly states it doesn't support that. Two, I think that where the confusion is that people are looking at marriage as a spiritual union when in the Old Testament it says that, there are conditions to marriage. And when those conditions are not met, the marriage, that's not appropriate. Now, I don't know where this whole thing of a spiritual marriage comes in. So, because when women were married or a couple was married in the ancient days, families came together. There was a contract. There was a code of behavior for the woman. There was a code of behavior for the man. And even in, I think it's Leviticus where it says, if a man have one wife and take another, he has to make sure nothing changes for the first wife, whether she's the wife that's hated or not. So, marriage is not a spiritual union like how, they say in church between, husband, wife, and God. It is a business contract. There's a business of family and supporting the family and making sure that the children and the wife and the husband have moral, first of all, they're being taken care of properly, morally, spiritually, physically, financially. So, it's not a spiritual union, and I don't want the state involved. Why don't you want the state involved? If you die, that woman does not have a right to anything that you own. She doesn't even have a right to bury you if she's not legally married to you. So it's like not wanting the state involved. It's making sure that there's a security for your children and your wife. And you can't do that if it's not legal. We live here in this land in this time. And even in the ancient days, there were laws set in place where women and children were protected in this scenario. So that's the only thing that I have to say pretty much. I think children should always be protected, whether it be in a monogamous situation or a polygynous situation. I do find it harder to provide for children if you have several wives and they're each having several children and the family's just multiplying. However, I wouldn't say it's impossible. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Dehu.
Thank you for that. That was the voice of Sister Aisha. Thank you for calling in as well. I wanted to keep going till she asked the question, but next you know we might go rouse up Brother Gene, and then we go on. As you know, we be off course. You know what I'm saying? We at the truck stop. Brother Sal, what's your thoughts? Brother
we got some
Sal,
more people standing by. Yeah, we got more people standing by. We got a whole lot of calls.
We're going to hold that, sister. We're going to have Brother Gene see if he could go ahead and slip that into his closing statements because we already know how that goes. So we heard you. Thank you so much, Brother Gene. Just go ahead. I know you got your little notepad. You know what I mean? Make a note, and then you could be able to answer her at your in your closing statement. So we're going to hit up these whole phone lines. Brother Sal, the mic is yours.
Well, first of all, the young lady are you there?
Hold on, Gene. Stand by.
Yeah, hold on, Gene. Yeah, go ahead and jot that down. Jot down your response so that we could get through. There's a lot of callers, and then your closing statements. You could just go ahead and you can go ahead and answer.
Yeah,
that,
Gene.
That's all right with you.
We're just gonna take a few callers for now, Gene, and after that, we're gonna get some final statements from everybody. And just write down whatever you need to jot down, and you could address it later. Always trying to get some of these callers in the meanwhile. So let's get to some of the callers.
Many, because I don't think I can keep up.
Let's see. What did you say?
You can't keep
Don't
up.
do too many. I can't keep up.
You got two Ishas and you can't keep up. Say what?
You
got a
multitask. I'm telling you.
Yeah, mess that brain up. You know what I'm saying? You got to have your little Rolodex and everything.
Oh, my brain's completely gone. It's 8 o'clock.
You can always come back too, but you know that you can always come back and do part 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever you want to do. Oh my goodness! All right, Brother Sal. But
we have to take a few more callers, Brother Sal, because we coming down to the third hour.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. So a few more callers. Go ahead, Brother Sal.
Let's go to 313-784. You're live and in.
Shalom. I just wanted to say that I think that from listening to both sides, I think that really. Right now in the situation everybody should just have one wife. From my understanding, that was reserved for men that had a high status within the society, within the nation. And you have people like from what I've seen in the community where it's mixed situations, it's mixed reviews. You look on social media and you see a lot of these brothers that's known. The other wife is putting certain things on social media and this confusion. So I think for now, until, you have a society where men are not veering to the left or to the right of Torah and are living in a life that's like they said, this pure heart and without corruption, the one wife thing should be the operations, because like they said, guys, y'all a God of order. So, when you have certain things that's going on like that, you got to have understanding where all the inheritance, all the children, the sons and the daughters, all is getting a certain type of inheritance based on what wife and what order, and you ain't got no foundation for that. So I think right now, while you in captivity or whatever the situation may be, it should just be one wife until you can get some where that's in a direct order, where it's everybody is in agreement and you have order. So thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for calling in. We didn't get your name. If you will share your name, that's okay. Well, definitely thank you for calling and letting your voice be heard. Brother Sal?
We're going to the next caller. Once again, we wind it down. It's like 14 minutes on the air, people. 14 minutes in the air. So let's please make it brief as possible when you, relay your questions or make a comment. Let's go to 702-202. You're live on the air, 702-202. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Shalom to everybody. I think I want to make a comment and then ask a question. My comment is, when it comes to the Jewish kings and their wives, I think we need to be very careful using that as a reason to do polygyny, because the Jewish kings had a different set of rules. Example, they had a lot of wives because of political reasons. A king will go somewhere, and if he wants to make an alliance with another king, usually he would offer to marry the daughter or the princess, and that is how they kept peace. So we cannot take something that happened in history and use it to apply to contemporary, maybe New York or Las Vegas values. When we do that, we kind of make a mistake. That's my statement. My question is, most of the time, we hear what man says. What is man's opinion, our point of view? I'm trying to find out what is God's point of view, because that is what really matters. What is his point of view on the subject? What does the Torah say about this? And that's my question. Thank you.
Awesome question. Thank you. Thank the caller. Everybody jot that question down. See if you could put it in your closing statement. Go ahead and jot that down. Brother Award, get up, Brother Award. Go ahead. I want to thank the caller. Good question. Go ahead and jot it down. See if you could call it back to memory when we do our closing statements, because I think that's very interesting. Mayanah spoke to it earlier. We get sucked into what man has done, what the testimony is telling us, choices that people made. But then, again, the question is, what did the Most High set up in the beginning, which for some reason causes a lot of issues as we begin to explore that conversation. So thank you, caller, for calling in. And definitely, everybody, note to self. Brother Sal, any more callers on the line right now?
Yeah, we have like two more callers. We have two more.
All right, let's get to the two more, and then we can go ahead. Okay.
All right, so let's go to 313-363. You're live in the air. 313, and I'm hearing some feedback. I don't know where it's coming from. So everybody on the panel, please mute your phones. I don't know where the feedback is coming from. 313-363. You're live in the air. 313, going once. 313-363. Can you hear me? All right, we're going to have to move on. Let's go to 718-207. You're live in the air. 718-207. Are you there? Can you hear me? 718-207. All right. All right. Well, we're all done with the people person number one. I want us to go ahead. You can go forward with it, whatever you want to do.
All right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and forward. I want to thank everybody for staying the duration of the time. This was an extended edition. For some reason, every time you get to this topic, it gets hot, and people just keep going. So once again, we're going to come around for closing statements. Again, we still have to keep it to a minimum. It's past my bedtime, But I'm going to go ahead and go first to Brother Ahwar because he has been so quiet, so nice. We have not neglected you, Brother Ahwar. And see if you can possibly speak to the questions, if you wrote them down, that the audience members asked as it related to, what's the Creator's thought process on this. And go ahead, Brother Ahwar, your closing thoughts. Escaping polygyny, custom culture, or chaos?
Right. I wanted to say, number one, the sister earlier had said about the New Testament, why, men, they didn't, if you believe in the New Testament, you shouldn't deal with polygamy or whatever, something like that. Well, the reason why it wasn't so enforced in the New Testament is because of this. This is 1 Corinthians 7:20. It says, but this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remains that both they that have wives be as though they had none. So they were living in, like, what they were dealing with in the New Testament is the beginning of the Roman Empire. Like, we're like in the latter end of that, what they were in the beginning of back then. So they didn't have time to deal with wives. They were busy putting out the gospel. That's why a lot of men didn't have wives. They barely had one. They didn't have time for them. So that's why you didn't hear it. It wasn't that they didn't, that long went away. It's just that they were busy putting out that gospel, that new wine that was coming, which is the understanding of the old. Now, going back to that other question, yeah, we understand that in the beginning men had one wife, going back to Adam and Eve, but then there wasn't a lot of people as much as it is now. So as time went on, more things expanded, more people came on the earth. So that's why men had other wives dealing with, then more laws were implemented, more cleanliness was more things implemented. So that's why multiple wives were needed. Militaries were coming forth. More children were needed, more men were needed. So it was a whole different dynamic with that. So that's why I'm saying that. But with that, I'll pass the mic.
All right, thank you for that. That was the voice of Brother Ahwar. At this point, we're going to go to Brother Gene. Again, we have our time limit as you give us our closing statements, and hopefully you was able to jot down some of the things that you were asked. And then from there, we're going to go to Brother Mercy and then Sister Mayanah. So, Brother Gene, your closing remarks.
Yeah, the lady that spoke 3 people in, I guess she's an elder or something like that, you were saying. She couldn't remember my name, but I didn't take offense to it. No problem. Sweet, kind lady. Really enjoyed her talking, by the way. I do believe that men need to have the permission of their wives if they're in a monogamous marriage. They start out like that, they need to have the permission of their wives. She talked about the division amongst the community. That division only is going to be solved by having the community read the scriptures and determine whether polygyny is moral or immoral. That doesn't mean that they should or shouldn't do it. It just determine whether or not it is something that they can get behind and support people who do. And she talked about experience versus knowledge. Doctors do have experience and doctors do have knowledge. And the fact of the matter is that we go to doctors. Now, doctors have nurses, and there are resources. They're wonderful resources. They have other practitioners who are wonderful resources. And a doctor who does not use those resources maybe need a little bit of education and wisdom and a little bit more experience in being wiser. But we still go to doctors because they do have that experience and do have that knowledge. But it is not to take away from people who have knowledge. And people with knowledge, they should be listened to, and the people with experience should filter that knowledge by their experiences as well and the Word of God. The next caller who said 1 Corinthians 7:2, I'm going to, again, refer you back to Dr. William F. Luck. His book on polygyny will actually explain the fact that the own wife and own husband, actually it's 2 different owns there. Two different, the words we translate as own, one's possessive, one's identifying, but he can explain that better in his book. So you might want to go check out his book for a little bit more clarification on that. A marriage is between God and women and men. And the fact of the matter is that it is a business contract, well spoken, but it also is a spiritual contract because God says what God has joined together, let no one separate. So God is a part of that, even in people who may not be of faith. The fact of the matter is God holds their contract in just as high a regard as marriage contract. He holds marriage very highly. So it is a business contract, correct, but it's also a spiritual deal as well, because otherwise I wouldn't need to take care of my kids and my wives spiritually as well and leave them. Remember, when you go through this whole deal, and you're a man out there or you're a woman out there, I've had it for both sides, that want to force polygyny on your family, your husband, or your wife, remember that the Bible is not prescriptive when it talks about polygyny. It's not telling you have to do it. It's descriptive, telling you that it has been done, and as you go through it, it'll tell you that it's moral, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. It's not prescriptive. It's not something you have to do, like don't steal, give to the needy. It's not prescriptive. It's descriptive. Solomon screwed up. You're talking about treaty wives. You're right. And that's where Solomon screwed up. He was told not to take treaty wives and multiply wives, and obviously he did that. What's multiplying wives? A very smart man once said, I don't know what the difference between a goatee and a beard is, but there is a difference. Where the line is, but when a beard's a beard and a goatee is a goatee. When Solomon multiplied wives the way he did, was that excessive? Yes. Plus, he took foreign wives. The fact of the matter is God dealt with the foreign wives or the treaty wives issue. He didn't deal with 1,000 wives. So had he said, yeah, you shouldn't have done with the treaty wives, and you should have not taken so many wives, then we might have something to talk about there. But he dealt with the treaty wives, and that's where Solomon failed. We see that as a result. Monogamy, polygyny, it's biblical marriage. And as a man or a woman, ultimately, as you come together, you're going to have offspring. You're going to generate children to your family. And honestly, if you can't take care of your family appropriately, or if you're going into polygyny and you haven't, you're just new to this, you should be seeking the counsel of people who have been through it, that are doing it successfully, or have even had problems and trials, and that are trying to live it successfully because they have some wisdom there. And if you're seeking this lifestyle, please do so cautiously, as I would suggest anyone that getting to monogamy. Do marriage counseling, get to know people, get your finances in order, get your spiritual house in order. So with that being said, polygyny is not a game. It's not just some TV show thrill that let's try it. It's called life, marriage, and it's real, and it has real effect on people. And when you know that going into it, you may take it a little bit more cautiously, and you may not even do it. But you should do it responsibly. With that, I yield.
All right, that was I guess Gene on the panel. I caught that little name thing drop that you had for me, Gene, but it's all good. Like I said, that's just part of our return as it relates to respecting one another, remembering, putting forth the effort to remember one another's name and address one another by his name. So I caught it, you know what I'm saying, and I just gave it back to you, kind of give you a little more clarity as to why I stress the name issue. But with that, we have Brother Mercy with his closing thoughts. Thank you once again, Brother Gene. Brother Mercy, your closing thoughts on the conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, first of all, I want to read a couple verses real quick. Romans 13, 1 and 2. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. My point is this. I was speaking earlier just on the subject in a general sense, but at the same time, some people have interjected their personal experience as if that's going to solidify or be persuasive when it's not. Because to me,
there's all kind of experience. There's good experience, and then there's bad experience. You could be at a job for 30 years. If you got bad experience, if you don't know what you're doing, you just been doing a bad job for 30 years. So that don't mean nothing. You could be there for 30 years at the same job, not being promoted. That could mean that you just stuck there because, you know, you're not doing that great of a job. So experience don't always translate into you're a good worker. I also wanted to say that for a man that don't want to submit to the state and don't want to get a license to get married, to me, that man is hiding something. That's my opinion. Because you want to know why? Because you need a license to drive a car. You need a license to go fishing. You need a license about to do anything. You know, so my thing is, I mean, if you need a license to drive a car, but you don't need a license to get married, that's a little backwards. But anyway, I wanted to say this, and this is my last verse with this, and that is, it talks about, the verse in the New Testament talks about every prince, in Galatians 4:1, every prince before he becomes a king, he's no different from a slave, although he owns the whole estate. So every king or every prince must first be a slave before he become a king. So the caller to call in, the female caller to call in and said that a slave has no rights is just ridiculous. Everyone got started off as a slave. So while he's working, he's learning how to become a king, and he's learning the kingdom, so to speak. But I just wanted to say that you know, this polygyny thing is very important. I think it's productive. I think it can be successful in its proper context. Like, I don't know why my brothers don't want to go overseas to implement their beliefs, but they want to do it over here. But it just astounds me why people want to do it that way. But there are places where it's legal and you'll be obeying the government authorities. But that's all I wanted to say. I think it was a great discussion, but I think also we need to do more study, more research, to study the scriptures to show ourselves approved. That's it.
All right, thank you for that. That was the voice of Brother Mercy. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up with Sister Mayanah, who, again, we had to hold it down for the feminine principle in the house tonight, as well as shout out to all of the feminine principles that call in, because, you know, the conversation can sometimes seem a little lopsided, you know, and the men are pushing, and the women sometimes, more often than not, you know, they're being influenced by the ideals of the men. And as Mayanah stated, hopefully she'll state it again, that when you look biblically, this wasn't the case. It wasn't like, you know, I got a Jones. I got to love Jones, you know what I'm saying? And I'm vibing on Shorty over there. It wasn't really like that. It was some real serious issues, customarily, most often surrounding, you know, barrenness, an heir, not 50 heirs. You know, Abraham was just looking for a heir. You know what I'm saying? And he waited until he was 100. You know, but anyway, Sister Mayanah, let me go ahead and wind down. Sister Mayanah, let's hear what you have to say on your closing remarks, sister. And yeah, don't forget, Sal got that buzzer, so you know.
Right. I'm gonna try to
go ahead.
this. I'm gonna try to do a few bullet points. Jean, thank you for coming. Thank you for heeding the invitation to come in. I heard you when Jean spoke to monogamy and jealousy being present in both paradigms. But the thing is that jealousy in a monogamous relationship is not between rival women. And so saying that the nature of jealousy is present, even in where there isn't that extra element, kind of speaks to why I have the extra element, particularly when our Levitical laws address that we don't want to have sisters having this type of rivalry between them. And the argument can be made it's biological sisters, but the point is still that there is this idea of there not being this rivalry between women, as this idea of jealousy existing even in monogamy, I think, is kind of mooted there. The other thing that one of the callers brought out was the effect of not having this type of documentation on sisters. I from the names and the descriptions, not certain that Jean's wives are sisters, and we need to establish that there are a different set of issues and obstacles that melanated women. And so the brother's concerned that sisters are not receiving the kind of coverage or security or safety that a document affords them is a legitimate one and needs to be considered. When these women are going into these relationships, they need to be protected. Now, whether or not, I'm not saying that non-melanated women do not deserve this type of protection, but they tend to have it at some point. And so the brother's concern was very specific to the needs and the consideration of melanated women. In terms of the Creator's point of view, and thank you to Elder Naomi for calling in. And to speak to that, I said Elder Naomi at least attempted to get the brother the guest name. She did not dismiss him as his personage, and so I think that should be noted as well. But going back to the Creator's point of view, the Creator's point of view has been consistent. In creation, he said he separated the masculine and feminine principle and allowed for there to be balance. There was one masculine principle and one feminine principle. Now, the argument can be made that, okay, all these things changed over time, but when we see the Most High is specifically and intimately involved in the creation of the union, this is what he does. And then he reproduces this, arguably when he decides to essentially reset creation, he duplicates this particular marriage model. Not once, not twice, not three times, but 4 times you see 4 sets of monogamous relationships. You do not see polygyny in terms of what the Most High has created, which we will then discuss what the Most High permitted. The Most High permitted us to do a host of things, a range of things. So to use permission as the springboard for point of view is a bit disingenuous. We see he has recommendations not recommendations, but he tells you this is what a king will do, this is what husbands do, this is what the marriage looks like. And so for our own reasons, and I think we're talking about this, conditions will dictate that certain other things happen. Barrenness, the women had employed what was available to them. Women owned the reproductive labor of other women. Sarai said that you're going to do this for me. The expectation was the birth of that child would reflect back on Sarah, and it had nothing to do with Hagar. And I think that's important because the language is there. And so, in consideration of the time, and I know that Sister Emunah has a good deal to contribute, I want her to be able to do so. But in closing, because I want to impress upon Eugene, thank you for coming. It was not to dismiss your experiential contributions to the conversation. Please do not internalize that. That was not what was done. That leap to hyperbole was a bit excessive. Instead, what I want you to understand is, like, for example, my sister is a counselor for a methadone clinic. I do not need the methadone addict, who is the addict of methadone, to explain to me better than the sister that I know went to school to treat and to deal with the methadone issue. So the fact that this methadone addict is a methadone addict does not mean that he has a better sense of the dangers of methadone or the underbelly or the benefits or whatever of methadone than my sister who has researched it and chose not to be an addict. So I don't think that although experience is important, and I do appreciate your experience and in no way devalue it, I think that there is room for education and research and coming from an informed position to be able to speak on these things. We know the scripture tells us a great deal of things so that we know what to avoid as much as it tells us things that we are to emulate. And so I don't think that we need to be participants in every sin, and not to say this one is particularly a sin, but my point being, we don't have to participate in sin in order to identify and discuss it. And polygyny, although I won't say again that it's a sin, it doesn't mean we have to participate to discuss it. I got you, Sal.
Sal was well with that bell tonight. Well, a lot has been said. I hope that this conversation has been edifying, one that will open up dialogue in your Knessets, in your synagogues, in your places of worship, on social media, one that we can begin to educate ourselves on, demystify, to pull off the blanket, no more taboo, take out the moldy, stinky laundry out of the basket, and dash way for dash way and keep way for keep and clean way for clean. Basically, take a look at the things, validate other people's experience, be real about the things that we've done in the past and our foreparents have done in our immediate past that continues to be a stench before the Most High. We argue hypothetics, but the reality is we're looking at children, we're looking at families, we're looking at realities being broken in the name of the true and living power. That in itself is problematic. And prayerfully that these sessions and those like these sessions will continue to shine light in dark places. So basically, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been Relationship Challenge episode Brother Sal 27, and hopefully we'll see you again in another 2 weeks. Until then, Debate Talk for You has a host of upcoming shows, so be sure to check out social media as well as the upcoming schedule on Debate Talk for You. Everybody have a blessed night.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely appreciate everybody on the panel, of course, special guests, and, of course, the listening audience for chiming in and calling in with their very edifying information and questions and comments. Debate, that's what Debate Talk for You is all about, the people finally calling in and relaying their information so we can go back and study and do the research. And, of course, oh, by the way, Mayanah, I just got a text from Gene. He said he would love to debate you, Mayanah. So hey, we'll work on that behind the scenes if possible. But anyway, tune in tomorrow, people. We have a round table tomorrow set up. Let me go to the schedule. Let me see what the round table is. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to have about 4 people. Yeah, I have 4 special guests going to be here. It's in regards to, hold on, let me see. Let me check the schedule real quick. I don't want to say anything. Let me just read it out to you guys so you can tune in tomorrow. Give me 1 minute. Hold on 1 second. Let's get into it. I want everybody to tune in tomorrow. So I'm going to read the topic for tomorrow. What is it? Let me get to it right now. Okay, it's the Roundtable episode 31. It's called, the topic is going to be The Fate of the Strangers in Yah's Kingdom. The Fate of the Strangers in Yah's Kingdom. We have like about 4 special guests that's going to be here tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow and call in with your questions and your comments as usual. And see you guys next time. Take care and God bless.
2017. Big Truth. Debate Talk for You. What up? Shout out Ahwar King. Big Bull. Me. Shout out everybody. Check it. Hey, yo, Debate Talk 4. You so you can absorb. Information free of charge so you can afford. Get poppin', live off the greatest doctrine. Sip the juice, know the ledge like the great Rakim. On a mission, not a small time thing. Defense biblical, offense got the haters watching. Hands are skill, footwork is ill. Get in the den, see if you can stand for real. If you rep Kim and Cool, yo, I rep Israel. If you Torah based only or new as well, welcome to listen. Style always fair decision. 2 sides come together to compare what's written. Seeking the facts, seeking the max, teaching the acts, leaking the tracks. Call while you eating your snacks. Music in my bones, DNA, C double E and K. Little something for the showtime, we can play. One love. One love.
Welcome to another episode of Debate Talk for You. I'm your host, Sal Showtime, and welcome back to the show live. I appreciate everybody out there that's been supporting the show over the years, and we want to have your continued support by going to www.paypal.com. Use the email debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. We need your support in order for us to have the show available to the masses each and every month because, of course, we have monthly fees in order for the show to remain on the air. So once again, we appreciate the support out there, people. Again, if you want to show your support, go to www.paypal.com and use the email debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. So if you love what you hear, you love the content, you love the segments, and the special guests that come on the show, please keep us on the air. We love you guys. Again, show your support. You know the email. One love.